Chapter 491. Changes of Zhanxian. Guan Zhenyao's almost invincible dumb ant was not much better than Yang Chen, her swollen body kept backing, while backing away, blood spurted wildly from her mouth. After retreating more than a dozen steps in a row, Yagupo's legs and feet were no longer able to keep up with the retreat momentum brought by Yang Chen's punch. She couldn't get enough of it and she immediately fell to the ground. But the body didn't stop because the dumb ant fell to the ground, she still maintained her inertia, sliding fast towards the back. After sliding on the ground continuously for a distance of about several meters, it stopped. The ground where the dumb ant glided across, leaving behind a series of blood stains. The red traces continued for several feet long, which was shocking to see. How could that be? The first thought that appeared in Guan Zhenyao's mind was that it was impossible. How could such a thing happen? Yagupo was a master in the daching stage and Yang Chen was just a junior in the early wielding stage. How could the two have such an effect when fighting? Although Yang Chen was also beaten into the air, she couldn't see the appearance of injury at all, and he even flew back as a way to relieve his strength. But the daching stage master Yagupo, who punched Yang Chen, who once repelled the two daching stage masters with a stick, was hit by Yang Chen until she vomited blood. Not only that, after falling to the ground, Yagupo seemed to have no other actions except vomiting blood. Until now, she still lay still on the ground and didn't move as if she was in a coma. Guan Zhenyao's head banged and she became dizzy, she was already terrified by the scene before her. Her carefully arranged formation was destroyed by a few swords lights from Yang Chen, and even her dumb ant, who was the last to rely on, was beaten to death by a punch. How could this happen? Guan Zhenyao was dizzy here, but it doesn't mean that Zhanxian and the others were also dizzy. This woman actually had a murderous heart because Zhanxian had better aptitude than her. Today, she wanted to kill everyone, how could the girls let her go? When Guan Zhenyao woke from the shock, she immediately discovered that she had fallen into the siege of the four women. But Yang Chen had already walked to Yagupo's side, looking down at the situation of Yagupo. Seeing the situation, Guan Zhenyao was determined. She was in the late wielding stage, but the girls were all in the early wielding stage. As long as it wasn't Yang Chen who could knock the daching stage masters out with a terrifying punch, she doesn't have these early wielding stage ancestors in her eyes. Even if she may not be able to kill the four women quickly, there was still no problem in running away alone. 4-on-1, you think I would be afraid? Guan Zhenyao was now certain that Yang Chen had no plans to intervene. He had already sat down on the side of the dumb ant and put an unknown pill into the dumb ant mouth. If Yang Chen did it, Guan Zhenyao would really not dare to be so talkative. Zhanxian shook her head slightly at the other three women, who all walked away silently, but still surrounded Guan Zhenyao in a vaguely small circle on the outside. 4-on-1? You really value yourself. Zhanxian shook her head contemptuously in the face of Guan Zhenyao, who was waiting for her. The tone of her speech was exactly the same as when Yang Chen unlocked her heart devil. She was facing Guan Zhenyao who was in the late wielding stage, but Zhanxian was not afraid at all, on the contrary, there was a sense of excitement in her heart. This feeling was like the impulsive feeling of eagerness to try when she had to face a touchstone after meticulous preparation for a long time. Yes, in Zhanxian's mind, Guan Zhenyao appeared at the right time. Not long ago, Zhanxian resumed her cultivation and was promoted to the wielding stage and then honed herself in the secret plane formation for almost a full year. The next step was to accompany Yang Chen to dual cultivate and listen to Yang Chen's analysis of her own deficiencies and mood in the battle. It took almost 10 years to adjust and consolidate the defects. During these 10 years, although there was a delay in tempering her life source magic weapon, most of the time, for Zhanxian, it was the best time to cultivate. Even in the Green Jade Immortal Island, under the guidance of the sect master and the seniors, it seems that the effect of cultivating with Yang Chen was much better. A few people with innate spiritual roots in the Green Jade Immortal Island history have already ascended and they were not a metal attribute cultivator in the sect anymore. The guidance of the elders was only to teach Zhanxian their cultivation experience, but this may not be completely suitable for her. Many things, for people with insufficient qualifications, are much more difficult to cultivate and they could only be achieved after thousands of times. But for people with good aptitude, it may be a natural and easy thing. Sometimes, it was extremely difficult to say a simple thing in vain to give Zhanxian a crooked road and have to spend more time making it back. But with Yang Chen here, there was no such problem at all. In the heavenly court, Yang Chen didn't know how many talents with excellent qualifications he had met. For Zhanxian, their past experience was simply a broad road. What's more, many directions were directly explained by Yang Chen based on the achievements of Zhanxian in the previous life, without Zhanxian not knowing how many twists and turns. Under Yang Chen's guidance, Zhanxian was a completely reborn person. Only then did she realize how many detours she had taken in her cultivation before. Naturally, Yang Chen's performance also convinced Zhanxian. The incomparably glamorous fairy, in front of this enchanting husband in her own family, completely lowered her arrogant head. Even between the beds, Yang Chen enjoyed a different taste that Yang Chen couldn't even imagine. Zhanxian, who had reached the ultimate level of cultivation, was feeling itchy hands, and Guan Zhenyao immediately came to text her, was there anything more wonderful than this? For Zhanxian and Guan Zhenyao's heads up, the other three girls did not dare to be careless, for fear that Zhanxian would suffer a big loss. Although everyone would sometimes divide into two small groups to fight for favor in front of Yang Chen intentionally or unintentionally, they were the same externally. While staring at Zhanxian and Guan Zhenyao, they also paid attention to what Yang Chen was doing. Yang Chen seemed to have never had any worries, taking care of the dumb ant with great ease. This was Guan Zhenyao's plot, but the dumb ant who was indirectly controlled by Guan Zhenyao was innocent. Fortunately, Yang Chen's punch didn't use his full strength, otherwise, he could beat the dumb ant into mash. Zhanxian not only possessed the spiritual awareness of the Daching stage, but also cultivated the 7th metal true secret art and doubled cultivated with Yang Chen. Even if Guan Zhenyao was twice as powerful, it was impossible to be like Zhanxian before entering the Daching stage. The result of the battle was as expected by Yang Chen, even if Guan Zhenyao's cultivation was already at the pinnacle of the Yuning stage, even if she had already possessed her life source flying sword, she still couldn't amount to anything in front of Zhanxian. Zhanxian's combat effectiveness was fully demonstrated in this battle. The unprecedented strength also shocked Zhanxian herself. The more handy she was in the battle, the more Zhanxian admired her husband's instructions. Otherwise, at this time when Zhanxian met Guan Zhenyao, it seemed that she could only escape, her life may be saved, but she was definitely not her opponent. The battle lasted for a while, at least Yang Chen had already taken care of the mutant and took the medicine. He sat there with a tea set and made a pot of good tea. After drinking with the other three women, the battle was over. Guan Zhenyao was lifted limply by Zhanxian and she came to the crowd. At this moment, Guan Zhenyao, without the arrogant posture she had before, was held in hand by Zhanxian, her face turned grey, like a fool. After she used all the methods she had, Zhanxian cracked them one by one and then went straight to capture her. During this period, Zhanxian's extraordinary combat effectiveness has caused Guan Zhenyao to completely lose the confidence to fight Zhanxian. She is a member of my sect anyway, I want to keep her alive. Zhanxian faced Yang Chen and the girls with a rare soft expression, with a little pleading, no longer the performance of the glamorous fairy. Guan Zhenyao wanted to kill everyone, so naturally everyone wouldn't let her go easily. But just let it go, it doesn't seem to be justified. That's why Zhanxian begged everyone in this way. Especially Yang Chen, Zhanxian's eyes were always looking at Yang Chen. Although Yang Chen didn't seem to be so bloodthirsty before, she has a better understanding of Yang Chen's character after living with Yang Chen for decades, especially in recent years. Although Yang Chen had never killed a single person, the murderous intent in his heart could not be hidden from the person beside him. Aling has gotten something good again by coming here. Regarding Zhanxian's pleading eyes, Yang Chen just smiled faintly and gave Zhanxian an answer. It could be considered to have agreed with Zhanxian. Zhanxian was overjoyed in time, and the tenderness in her eyes almost made Yang Chen directly lost. Who would have imagined that the cold plum fairy would show such an expression to someone in her previous life? Guan Zhenyao was not dead, but she was not much better. Although you could cultivate freely in the mountain river geographical map, you are trapped in the world of others for life and could no longer escape. This result satisfies the girls and also prevents Zhanxian from being charged with the crime of fratricide, even though Guan Zhenyao came to attack her first. The battle just now was very good. Guan Zhenyao was dealt with. Yang Chen stretched out his hand and handed Zhanxian a cup of fragrant tea. This is just brewed and the heat is just right. Was there anything more wonderful than just fighting with all her strength and receiving a cup of her favorite tea from her husband immediately after the victory? At least Zhanxian hadn't encountered it before. After enjoying the small cup of pottery tea full of 7th metal true essence, Zhanxian suddenly felt relaxed and indescribable. Yagupo is okay? Zhanxian asked about Aunt Dumb after enjoying her tea. She knew that her husband also considered that she would still have a foothold in the sect, so he didn't kill Yagupo. As for why Zhanxian had no doubt that Yang Chen could kill Yagupo who was in the Daching stage, this was purely a tacit understanding between husband and wife. Needless to say, Zhanxian also had this confidence. She can still be saved. Yang Chen directly gave Zhanxian an answer that made her feel relieved. The injuries that were previously devastated may also be healed. Really? Zhanxian couldn't believe her ears. Yagupo's injury has been seen by many experts in the sect and even some experts in other sects have diagnosed her. Almost everyone agrees that there was basically no hope of recovery. Yang Chen actually said that she could be cured, why wouldn't Zhanxian be overjoyed? Back then, Yagupo was not dumb and became a demon, she was definitely a promising master in the Green Jade Immortal Island. Even with the exception of those great elders, there was no one in the Green Jade Immortal Island who could be compared with Yagupo. If it weren't for the madness, there might be one more great elder in the Green Jade Immortal Island now. But now the dumb ant could only be reduced to a puppet-like situation where she has almost no consciousness of her own and was freely controlled by Zhanxian. The depravity of the dignified Daching stage master made countless people sigh with grief. Yang Chen's word sounded better than any sweet words in Zhanxian's ears. In these days with Yang Chen, Zhanxian has thoroughly understood that the sect could hardly give her any more guidance, it was almost equivalent to her keeping the sect. But in her heart, Zhanxian still has deep feelings for her sect. If the dumb man could be cured, it was definitely a major event that would excite the entire Green Jade Immortal Island. How could Zhanxian, a loyal disciple of the Green Jade Immortal Island, not be overjoyed? Maybe we should go to the Green Jade Immortal Island for a while. Yang Chen nodded and said with a smile after finishing these things, we will go to the Demon Continent. Going to the Demon Continent to train has always been the goal that Yang Chen and the girls had agreed upon long ago. Upon hearing this, the girls were all excited, they also had some expectations for this. After experiencing these things in the Dao sect of the Central Plains, maybe the killing of the Demon Continent would make them more moody. Yagupo just sustained her injury and remained unconscious, but Yang Chen did not heal her. Who knows if she would fight with Yang Chen as soon as she wakes up now, and many things have to wait for Zhanxian and the people of the Green Jade Immortal Island to clarify before they could do it, otherwise Yang Chen couldn't control her. After cleaning up, the group headed straight to the Green Jade Immortal Island in the East China Sea. The harvest this time was beyond everyone's expectations, especially Yang Chen, who would never have imagined that there was such a good thing as the ninth water spiritual solution in this secret plane. There was also an immortal body, which was even more of a miracle. Speaking of the secret plane, Yang Chen suddenly came up with an idea. The last time the greatest heaven sect's consciousness clone came to tell them the location and danger of the secret plane, it would be great to tell Li Lihing the good news next time he contacted Li Lihing, which would make the greatest heaven sect happy. He believed that the expressions of the senior officials of the greatest heaven sect would be very exciting. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 492. Yagupo's recovery. When everyone rushed to the Green Jade Immortal Island, it was already half a year later until they arrived. It's far from the Green Jade Immortal Island, even Yang Chen's flying shuttle took 6 months to reach. Zhanxian didn't conceal anything about Zhanxian in front of the people in the sect. Except for the final disposition, everything else was explained. Of course, Zhanxian wouldn't say that Yang Chen put the dumb ant down with one punch, only that a few people desperately blocked the dumb ant. After Zhanxian overpowered Zhanxian, the dumb ant stopped her hands. As for the injury of the dumb ant, it was just an accident. Anyway, everyone knew that Yang Chen has a very powerful defensive weapon and it was normal for a few people to work together to block the attack of the dumb ant. On the contrary, Zhanxian subdued Zhanxian by herself, making all the high-level officials look at her with admiration. The existence of the dumb ant proved Zhanxian's statement, at least half of it. No one in the sect knew that Yagupo had been taken outside by Zhanxian and asked to kill. From this point of view, Zhanxian was very suspicious. Zhanxian was also the focus of the sect, but just as Zhanxian herself said, after Zhanxian appeared, the sect allocated some resources to support Zhanxian. It was precisely because of this that Zhanxian felt that Zhanxian had robbed her of her position in the sect and that was the way she would do it. In fact, Zhanxian entered the Yuning stage much earlier than Zhanxian and was stuck at the peak Yuning stage and couldn't break through it because there was a problem in her mentality and there were some things that she couldn't see. Now everyone was thinking about it, but it turns out to be entangled in this, which really made them speechless. The Green Jade Immortal Island attaches great importance to every genius disciple. In fact, they don't give much preference to one or a few, but some people don't see the big picture and always think that their own things have been taken away. Such a person could only cultivate to the peak Yuning stage at most, how could the Daching stage be possible if the mentality of the person does not grow? Speaking of which, the disappearance and death of several genius disciples in the Green Jade Immortal Island may also be due to Zhanxian. These could be determined by investigating Zhanxian's whereabouts when the accident happened. Murdering the same sect member was a serious sin in any sect. If the sect allows this to happen, it wouldn't be far away from falling apart. Of course, some small discords are inevitable, but after all, they can't make it to the point of life and death. Can Yugupo injury be treated? The senior elders of the Green Jade Immortal Island did not hold much accountability for Zhanyao's affairs. However, when Zhanxian said that Yang Chen could heal Yugupo, all the senior officials were surprised and then ecstasy. Yugupo's combat effectiveness, except for those great elders, ranks firmly in the forefront of all Daching stage masters in the Green Jade Immortal Island. This was not a boast, but a real fact. Every Daching stage master in the Green Jade Immortal Island has fought against the dumb ant. However, no one could beat the dumb ant in a fight. It's a pity that the dumb ant doesn't have much saneness. In most cases, she only reacts to killing intent. At other times, she doesn't take the initiative to fight at all. People in the Green Jade Immortal Island have always regretted it. They don't know what method Guan Zhenyao used to let the dumb ant listen to her command and kill people for Guan Zhenyao. Guan Zhenyao's actions have already caused public outrage. But Yugupo was innocent, she was just a poor worm who was involved and a poor worm with strong fighting power. Now Yang Chen actually said that he could cure the dumb ant and everyone was overjoyed for a while. Once the dumb ant recovered, it would be no less than the addition of 2 Daching stage masters in the Green Jade Immortal Island. You know, even if 2 masters in the middle Daching stage joined forces, they were not as powerful as Yugupo. Can she really be cured? The island master didn't believe it in general and asked again. I am 80% certain. Yang Chen had already diagnosed the dumb ant on the road in detail, and the answer to this was that he was not 100% sure. But some things must be stated clearly in advance, so as not to ask for trouble after finding the problem. Of course, it may also fail. If you fail, what will be the consequences? The island master looked at the dumb ant who was still very weak and asked with some worry. The consequence of the failure is that she may become even more mad. Yang Chen answered truthfully, and it is very likely that she will never be so peaceful again, she will attack anyone she sees. In this way, the consequences would be quite serious. Yugupo, who has gone crazy and burned her mind and turned into an idiot, could be said to be safe normally, but once she wants to kill someone, there was no one in the Green Jade Immortal Island who could stop the dumb ant. This was the Immortal Island of the Green Jade Immortal Island. Once the dumb ant goes crazy, it was estimated that it would be in ruins within 1,000 miles. It's a big matter. I take the liberty to ask, what is the matter with Yugupo's injury? The island master was also unable to make a decision at once. As for the other elders, they were also pondering. As a last resort, the island master could only obtain more information from Yang Chen for judgment. To put it bluntly, the root cause is still cultivation deviation. Yang Chen saying the sentence was equivalent to not saying the same. The few Green Jade Immortal Island elders who heard this couldn't help but roll their eyes. Who wouldn't say such a thing? Actually, if I knew the life of Yugupo, I could probably know why she became crazy. Yang Chen's words immediately attracted everyone's interest. It was also very good for them to be able to understand the reason why an expert has become crazy. It could at least allow them to avoid problems in their cultivation in the future due to the same reason. The root cause of Yugupo deviation lies in her invincibility. Yang Chen's words slowly sounded out. From the time when Yugupo was promoted to Daching stage, there has never been a defeat in all the battles that she has experienced. This also led to dumbness. She didn't put anything in her sight, her perverted character which doesn't put the world in her eyes. This is the fundamental reason. Yugupo thinks she is invincible in the world, so she has no scruples when she is cultivating, so she went crazy. Yang Chen's words were not fast and everyone heard it clearly. Yang Chen's words were also relatively subtle, but everyone has already understood. Yugupo thought that she was invincible, so she has been unable to improve her mental cultivation level. The result of forced cultivation was the consequence of her insanity. Being arrogant and always believing in herself was why there was such an ending. Then how can it be cured? The island master was speechless for a while, then asked softly. It's actually very simple. Yang Chen smiled, and in the eyes of everyone, he slowly said defeat her and let her know that she is not invincible. Everyone present was stunned. Everyone looked at each other, they all fell into silence. Defeating the dumb ant was no easy matter, and if they could defeat her, why would they still have to wait until now? In hundreds of years, no one could do it, even when the dumb ant has lost her sanity. Yang Chen's 4 wives were now in a daze. Now that the reason for Yugupo's delusion has been found, Yang Chen has actually cured Yugupo's madness, but because he has not negotiated with the Green Jade Immortal Island, he has not yet treated her injuries. The punch to Yugupo, who vomited blood and he was unscathed, wasn't it a defeat of the dumb ant? There was no need to say anything about this. What they saw with their own eyes still happened because of their husband, making the 4 women truly proud. Unfortunately, this kind of pride could only be known to the 4 of them and cannot be said to others. To let others know that Yang Chen defeated the Green Jade Immortal Island's best combat power besides the greatest heaven sect with 1 punch alone, it was not known how many people would go crazy. Their husbands and them also know that they are not so casual and high-profile people. Although he was now the only fifth-grade alchemist in the world, he was already very high-profile, but the more trump cards he has, the better. Yagupo has become like this, it's been 300 years, right? The island master did not directly make a decision, but said this sentence in a nostalgic tone. The question made the surrounding elders sigh. The dumb ant, who was so powerful at the time, was now an idiot who can't speak. How big was the contrast? People can't help but sigh. It's been more than 300 years. One of the elders also replied with some nostalgia. Instead of living like this, I think it would be better if she died. The island master followed the elder's words and said again. Everyone present was an expert and they nodded sadly. Let the great elder prepare to fight her. If it doesn't work, let Yagupo go. The island master finally made a decision, which was also a somewhat cruel decision. Let her go easily. Obviously, this was the island master's agreement to allow Yang Chen to treat her. Even the consequences of failure have been considered and the great elder has been arranged to fight her. Except for the great elder, no one else could deal with the dumb ant. As for Yang Chen's words, no one doubted it at all. Everyone believed that since he said he was 80% sure to cure the dumb ant, then he must have such a high degree of certainty. If he said that there would be any possible consequences after failure, and there must be such consequences. Yang Chen also declined the island master who was about to discuss reward with him at the beginning. This was Zhanxian's teacher, even if Yang Chen would not do this kind of thing for free, but it could also be seen as giving Zhanxian face, he would wait until the dumb ant recovers. If there was anything wrong with Yagupo, Yang Chen would be ashamed to ask for any rewards. The injury of the mute ant. It's nothing at all in Yang Chen's hands. A 5th-grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill was enough, what matters was her sanity. At the request of Yang Chen. Zhanxian took the dumb ant and Yang Chen into a quiet room. Inspiring Ant Dumb's mind requires Yang Chen to shock her with a strong spiritual awareness. It was also a life and death step for Yagupo, and no one could disturb them. Yagupo, who was a master of the Daching stage, had no pressure on taking the 5th-grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill, and her injuries began to improve visible to the naked eye. After all, the damage was caused by pure physical power, and there was no such effect as the spirit power which was constantly destroyed. Right now, Yagupo's mentality was still controlled by Yang Chen. It was not until Yang Chen felt that the injury on the dumb ant's body had completely improved. Then, he pressed one hand on the back of the dumb ant's head and fiercely used the beast-controlling secret art technique. Yang Chen, who was holding the dumb ant, launched a spiritual awareness shock attack. This attack couldn't be too strong, otherwise the dumb ant would be deadheaded, but it can't be too weak also, otherwise the effect would not be achieved. Fortunately, Yang Chen's spiritual awareness has now reached a certain level and he could control it any way he wanted. Next, Yang Chen and Zhanxian quickly left the quiet room and were replaced by Elder Tong. Once the dumb ant can't recover, Elder Tong was the person to end the pain of the dumb ant. Of course, Elder Tong dealing with the dumb ant would not be without a price. The price she had to pay was to open the seal formation and immediately face her tribulation and ascend. Because of Elder Tong, this time they chose a quiet room on a remote island and the surrounding area has been emptied, lest Elder Tong's ascension would implicate other people. In the expectation of everyone, there was no tribulation cloud gathering in the sky, that was to say, Elder Tong had not released the seal. Similarly, this also means that the dumb ant had nothing done to her for the time being. The elders of the Green Jade Immortal Island, who were waiting and anxious, finally began to slowly feel relieved. After waiting for more than half an hour, there was nothing unusual at all. Then they heard the call of Elder Tong. Okay, it's all right. A group of people rushed to the island and rushed into the quiet room. Then everyone was in a daze. Opposite Elder Tong, there was a middle-aged woman with tears on her face. Although there were faint crow's feet on her face, it was definitely not the old woman before. The appearance of this middle-aged woman was exactly the dumb ant before she went crazy. Greetings, Island Master. In the eyes of everyone's astonishment, the dumb ant stood up and bowed to salute the group of people who came in. Greetings, elders. All the high-level members of the Green Jade Immortal Island who came in, except Elder Tong, all had dumbfounded expressions. Yagupo, could she now speak? And looking at her performance, was she really back to normal? This old woman used to be arrogant, short-sighted, and a 300-year-old dumb idiot, just like Nenki Yiming. Facing a group of high-level members of the Green Jade Immortal Islands, the dumb ant lowered her head again and said finally, I have been able to turn my misfortune into blessing. I want to wait in the sect for 500 years, I ask the island master's grace. Yagupo was already strong, when she became a dumb idiot she had no distractions. Naturally, she has improved her cultivation. Now she has recovered her mind, understands what went wrong, and her mentality improved immediately, so she was on the verge of ascending. Waiting in the sect was to repay the care of the sect over the years and the grace of this awakening. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 493. Everyone had some hope in their hearts at the beginning, but no one dared to really put hope on Yang Chen. Even if Yang Chen could heal the trauma of the mutant, the confusion brought about by her insanity was not something that could be cured by some medicine. Not to mention defeating the Daching stage master Yagupo, it was absolutely impossible. But now, the dumb ant stood in front of everyone, sane, organized and acting naturally, and they couldn't see anything wrong with her. Could it be that Yang Chen has defeated the dumb ant? How could that be? Everyone who thought of this possibility directly gave an impossible answer subconsciously. But what's going on with Yagupo now? Did someone defeat her? Who was it? Min Huifeng was anxious and asked immediately. I also vaguely remember being defeated, but who defeated me and how, I can't remember. Yagupo also had a look of being fascinated, and the answer was ambiguous. It seems that this question could only be asked about Yang Chen and the others carefully. For now, they should take a look at the situation of Yagupo. In any case, the Green Jade Immortal Island has another master who was a great elder, and the strength of their foundation has once again become a bit more powerful. The group of people almost hurried back to the main island of the Green Jade Immortal Island with joy. Yagupo was in a daze after all these years, completely unaware of what happened to her, and she was embarrassed when she heard the narration from others. Especially that Guan Zhenyao used her as a tool, which made the dumb ant angry. Despite being in that kind of idiotic state, the battle was still her instinct. How many times she has experienced it, she still vaguely remembers. Except for the discussions with several masters in the sect, the extra ones that the sect didn't know were obviously Guan Zhenyao's handwriting. The content that Yagupo recalled became even more iron proof that Guan Zhenyao's heart was in the wrong. Even if Guan Zhenyao was a sweet talker, she couldn't make it clear, the charges were completely settled and no one doubted it anymore. After some greetings, the dumb ant finally came to Yang Chen and his wives, thanking Yang Chen for her salvation. Regarding Yang Chen and Zhanxian, when Yagupo had her cultivation deviation, Zhanxian had not yet joined the sect. Now an elder with such a seniority came to thank her, Zhanxian dared not act big and hurriedly returned the thanks. It was Yang Chen who received a sturdy thanks, and only then did he show the courtesy of the younger generation. Yang Chen was able to save Yagupo, and Yang Chen deserved her thanks. No one had any opinion on it. This old woman vaguely remembers, the last time I was defeated. Yagupo's sentence was first to thank for her salvation, and secondly, she wanted to know who was the master who defeated herself. This old woman wants to know, who is this expert? Not only the dumb ant, but even the island master and the others who came after all had a curious expression, waiting for Yang Chen to answer. What a coincidence that this person happened to appear when Yang Chen and others were besieged. It's not someone else, it's you, senior. Yang Chen smiled and started to answer directly, but his answer made everyone confused. She defeated herself. How was this possible? Myself. Yagupo also had a big confused expression. Yang Chen's words were really incredible, and she couldn't think of the key to it even if she wanted to break her head. No way, although she vaguely remembered fighting a few times, she couldn't remember the process of the battle at all. Senior didn't have much judgment at the time. A small illusion was enough to trap Senior. Yang Chen smiled and said plus a strong counter shock, Senior completely defeated herself. Yang Chen's words, on the one hand, concealed his own strength, on the other hand, it made the dumb ant's mentality much better. Defeated by a few younger generations, no matter how hard it was, she would lose face. However, being trapped by the illusion during the muddle-headed period and then shocking and hurting herself, there was no shame. After all, the dumb ant was unconscious at the time and couldn't distinguish the illusion from the reality. Sure enough, when Yang Chen said these words, Yagupo's face suddenly improved a lot. The other seniors of the Green Jade Immortal Island also suddenly realized that this argument was the subject of scrutiny and Gongsun Ling herself was a formation cultivator. Everyone knows it well, and no one doubts anything else. Next, naturally the Green Jade Immortal Island wouldn't let Yang Chen take out a 5th grade Lingzi mushroom jade pill, even if he had a relationship with Zhanxian, it was impossible to accept Yang Chen help without any reward. Therefore, after several excuses, Yang Chen reluctantly accepted a 6th grade fire seed as a reward, and both parties were very happy. For the Green Jade Immortal Island, the recovery of the dumb ant means that from then on, there was one more Daching stage elder who was about to ascend, and their strength has skyrocketed. And it's still an extra one, the dumb ant in the past, it took a few people to take care of her. When it was really going to fight, it didn't come in handy. As long as the opponent was like Yang Chen and others, an illusion formation could take care of her. No one doubted Yang Chen's alchemy and medical skills anymore. There were even a few elders who asked Yang Chen for help through Zhanxian to refine a batch of face-retaining pills. They were willing to provide enough medicinal materials and remuneration. Seeing Zhanxian's face, Yang Chen reluctantly agreed to such a request. He also used this method to increase Zhanxian's position in the eyes of the seniors of the Green Jade Immortal Island. Not to mention her strong combat power and excellent cultivation aptitude, she could still have the face of letting Yang Chen start refining the pill, so the sect had to pay much attention to her. For Yang Chen, it was not too difficult for him to refine the face-retaining pills. With ample supply of medicinal materials, it took less than 3 months to produce more than 30 pieces in a batch, far exceeding the number of elders who requested and provided medicinal materials. However, these medicinal materials were thousands of years old, and the face-retaining pills could last for 100 years. No woman will dislike her youthful and beautiful appearance, and naturally no woman would hate the face-retaining pills too. All the elders who received the face-retaining pills kept them as treasures. To Yang Chen, they were even more grateful. The Agupo was settled here, the affairs of Zhanxian were settled, and the face-retaining pills were refined for the elders, so Yang Chen and others set on the way out again. This time it was not about to set off to the Demon Continent, but to go straight to the South China Sea, to the Sea of No Return, and store the immortal body obtained from the secret plane in the empty Dragon Palace. Having retained the seed of the divine consciousness that Yang Chen split into two, this immortal body was Yang Chen's last support. It's not that Yang Chen didn't want to use the immortal body to cultivate, it was just that the three purities secret art was like this. The first split of the spiritual awareness was just to split a seed of consciousness, which gave the subject a chance to resurrect after death. However, this seed of spiritual awareness cannot cultivate while the subject still exists. For Yang Chen, he could only watch his divine consciousness seed attached to the immortal body, drooling at the immortal body that had already experienced the heavenly tribulation in vain and was still unable to cultivate. He could not help but say, this was a huge enticement. If Yang Chen could be cruel and he kills himself, he would start again, and with the help of the immortal body, he might be able to raise his cultivation to a jaw-dropping realm in a short period of time. But in that case, would he still be himself? No one would commit suicide in exchange for a better opportunity to cultivate, even Yang Chen couldn't make this determination. Not to mention that his current body had the full value of the acquired spiritual roots of all attributes, but he has not experienced a higher heavenly tribulation, and his future achievements would not be worse than that of the immortal body with a single attribute. Hurrying to the Sea of No Return, Yang Chen didn't want other people to know, so he just traveled directly across the bottom of the sea with his 4 beautiful wives. With the flying shuttle this treasure, plus the sea jasper lamp, he was not afraid of being discovered by others at all. When he reached the outskirts of the Sea of No Return, Yang Chen put the 4 girls down. There was no other way around it, the inside of the Sea of No Return was very dangerous, and without the 5-element hook of the Dragon Clan, it was impossible to get down. As for the 5-element hook, only Yang Chen could use it at present, and Yang Chen was not willing to let his wives take risks. With Gongsun Ling's Mountain River geographical map, Yang Chen made them feel relieved to travel outside of the Sea of No Return. The sea beasts here were extremely fierce, and it was also a good place to cultivate their fighting skills. Yang Chen alone, once again entered the interior of the Sea of No Return. This time when he entered, Xiaotian was also very awake, and he seemed very excited to revisit the old place. After arriving at the original Dragon Palace again, before placing the immortal body, Yang Chen suddenly moved in his heart and released the Dragon Palace. Last time, Yang Chen controlled the Dragon Palace to fuse the Dragon Clan treasure house in the lethargy after Xiaotian swallowed the dragon bead, but it was clear that he certainly did not personally operate the fusion thoroughly. This time, Yang Chen released the Dragon Palace and just let Xiaotian personally control it and to completely merge the two. The immortal body and the 7 treasured glaze box were placed in a pool of 10th water spiritual solution by Yang Chen. Since the last time Yang Chen collected it, some has slowly accumulated here again, but there was only the first layer. He placed a nourishing formation here, just to nourish the immortal body, with the help of the 10th water spiritual solution. After the temporary placement and waiting for the process of Xiaotian controlling the Dragon Palace fusion, Yang Chen did not idle, and once again connected the spiritual awareness link with Li Lihing of the Greatest Heaven sect. During this period of time, every almost a year or so, Yang Chen would contact Li Lihing once, and it has almost become a fixed rule. However, Li Lihing consumes more and more spirit congealing pills, and he used about 10 in one contact. At this rate, within a maximum of 10 years, Yang Chen's spirit concealing pills would be exhausted. The contact time each time was longer, but almost every time he gave instructions to Li Lihing and others in the Greatest Heaven sect about their cultivation. Judging from Li Lihing's increasingly proud performance, he has gained an absolute position in the Greatest Heaven sect. This was a good thing, and Yang Chen was happy to make it happen. It was also the first step of the plan to let a guy with no talents and no virtues ascend to the high position of the Greatest Heaven sect. But today, Yang Chen intends to make the greatest heaven sect depressed. When this old man was chatting with a senior in the sect recently, that senior occasionally said that he remembered that one of his seniors left a secret plane in the mortal world. Senior Liu Fengzi said to Li Lihing, "You write down the method to open the secret plane, go get those things inside." Li Lihing was overjoyed. Needless to say, the secret plane left by the predecessors in the spiritual world was full of precious materials. Needless to say, just medicinal materials could be made into peerless treasures over the years. Not daring to leave a word, Li Lihing remembered Liu Fengzi's advice firmly and repeated it to Liu Fengzi. After there were no more problems, Liu Fengzi was relieved. In this secret plane, there are many dangers. The seniors who left it behind are not so easy to handle. You must be careful, otherwise the consequences will be disastrous. Senior Liu Fengzi still seemed to be worried and said again. Of course, Li Lihing promised with full mouth that he would proceed with caution. Only after spending 10 spirit congealing pills did he end the contact with Senior Liu Fengzi. Li Lihing was not present when the ancient secret key of the greatest heaven sect broke out last time, so this was not very clear to him. With his personality, these things that have nothing to do with him, he would not pay much attention to them afterwards. And at that time, he was suffering from unprovoked fainting, so how would he care about his secret plane? At this moment, he got an ancient secret plane, and he became excited for a while. Under the gaze of the waiting and anxious greatest heaven sect core officials, Li Lihing quickly explained the process of this exchange. Hearing that there was an ancient secret plane, everyone suddenly became excited. But after Li Lihing enthusiastically told the news about the ancient secret plane, he thought he could see the excited expressions of the sect master and elders, but to his surprise, he only saw depression. What was this expression? Li Lihing looked at the elders a little puzzled. It was the sect master who understood Li Lihing. Seeing his puzzled appearance, he slightly reminded him this secret plane is the secret plane that caused us to lose several Daching stage elders. The excitement in his heart instantly turned into consternation. Li Lihing stared at the crowd dumbfounded, his mind lost. Senior Liu Fengzi said that the secret plane was left behind by a senior, so how could it lead to such a disaster? Did Senior Liu Fengzi say to be careful? Li Sect Master asked in a low voice. He vaguely doubted Liu Fengzi, whom he had never met and could not meet. What does it mean to take out a secret plane that was almost universally known? Senior told me to be careful several times. He said that the senior who left it behind wasn't easy to handle. Li Lihing hurriedly mentioned the advice of Senior Liu Fengzi. But even if he wanted to break his head, he didn't understand how could the secret plane handed down by the predecessors of the spiritual world become the secret plane that has already been explored. Wait for the next contact. Sect Master Li sighed, not knowing what kind of thoughts were in his mind. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 494. Return. After he played with the greatest heaven sect, Yang Chen set up his clone and immortal body and then went to the Dragon Palace to check the situation of the Dragon Palace fusion. Last time Yang Chen had completed the initial integration, this time Xiao Yan personally controlled it and it was even more relaxed. Within a month, the integration was completely completed and it was the deepest level of integration. For more than a month, the women were a little worried. Fortunately, Gongsun Ling experienced this kind of waiting last time, knowing that the interior of the Sea of No Return was extremely dangerous, so after explaining to the other 3 women, everyone joined hands to practice against the sea beasts, and it didn't seem too boring. Yang Chen came out of the Sea of No Return, and they hadn't seen him for more than a month, but when the girls looked at Yang Chen, they clearly saw a different aura from him than before. It was a kind of pleasing self-confidence, only the close people around Yang Chen could feel it, and it was absolutely invisible. That kind of self-confidence, even detached from life and death, like there was no longer any sense of fear. It was understandable that when a person has an immortal body that becomes his own clone, and once the body dies, the clone would wake up again and have almost all of his own memories, no one would be afraid of death anymore. This state of not being afraid of death would naturally affect the body's state of mind, turning it into a kind of openness to fearlessness. Was there anything better than this that could improve the realm of cultivation? It has only been a few years since everyone has entered the Yuaning state, and when most people were consolidating their realm, Yang Chen seems to have begun to hit the peak early Yuaning stage. Everyone had been away from their sect for many years, and they had to go back. Zhanxian has just gone back recently, but Sun Qingxu has never been back to the Blue Cloud sect. Sun Qingxu was going back to her natal home, so she had to bring some gifts back. Now Yang Chen refined some face-retaining pills that have become the most sought-after item. Last time he refined it in the Green Jade Immortal Island, it happened that Sun Qingxu brought it back as a gift. Zhanxian and Sun Qingxu really seemed to be advancing and retreating together, and the 2 girls didn't want to go back to the Puryang Palace at this time. They just made an appointment with Yang Chen on a date to meet again and then rushed to the Blue Cloud sect together. Bao Yu and Gongsunling naturally followed Yang Chen back to Puryang Palace. In addition to communicating with the elders and the palace master, Yang Chen also had another purpose, which was to wait for the Greatest Heaven sect to come to him again. They have already spent more than half of the spirit congealing pills, and the remaining ones were definitely not enough for Li Liheng to persist for 50 years. The high-level staff of the Greatest Heaven sect knew this very well, but they still couldn't help it. The pill recipe with them has not only been verified by the masters of the medicine hall, but also the pill recipe left by Senior Liu Fengzi was exactly the same. There was no problem with the pill recipe, but there was no alchemist to refine it. This made the Greatest Heaven sect extremely depressed, and in desperation, they had no choice but to come to Yang Chen again. Hallmaster Mao, who vowed never to see Yang Chen again, had been waiting in the Puryang Palace for 5 years. If he didn't come, Li Liheng's communication with Liu Fengzi over the years has brought many benefits to the sect. Mao Kai knew from the beginning to the end that even his own cultivation level had improved slightly. All of these were based on Li Liheng's normal cultivation of spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method, and the foundation of Li Liheng's normal cultivation was the spirit concealing pills. Without the spirit congealing pill, there would be nothing. There would be Li Liheng, no Liu Fengzi and no future guidance. Even if he had sworn an oath, he had to break the oath at this time. As Sect Master Li asked at the time if he used the heart demon to swear. If it was not, then it would be none other than Hallmaster Mao, who told the Greatest Heaven sect to deal with Yang Chen the most frequently, and he was most familiar with Yang Chen. "Why are you here again?" Seeing Hallmaster Mao's face, Yang Chen blurted out the sentence, his face full of impatience and a look of surprise. Mao Kai's face went dark immediately. What does he want again? Do you think I want to come? But he only darkened his face, and he returned to normal immediately. Now that the Greatest Heaven sect wants to ask Yang Chen for help, it's not the time to turn their faces with Yang Chen. Besides, Yang Chen didn't say much, did he? What kind of pill are you making this time? In front of Mao Kai, Yang Chen rarely had to be as polite as in front of other outsiders. He sat down opposite Mao Kai and reached out and grabbed the teapot from Mao Kai and asked while pouring tea. Spirit congealing pills. Mao Kai was not polite with Yang Chen, reached out his hand to grab the teacup and took a sip, then lazily spit out 3 words and helplessly said. Spirit congealing pills. Yang Chen had a puzzled look on his face, staring straight at Mao Kai, and even asked in an unbelievable tone, "Senior Mao, what are you doing with it? Are you throwing away the spirit congealing pills? Or is there too much precious material in the Greatest Heaven sect that you have to rush to send it to me? I am embarrassed." Mao Kai almost jumped up angrily. What does he mean by throwing away the spirit congealing pills? Does he think he was willing to come here to find him? How could Mao Kai fail to hear the teasing in Yang Chen's speech? Moreover, Yang Chen made no secret of it. He clearly told Mao Kai that he had been ripping them off several times before, so why would he come to find him again if it wasn't important? There is no other way, more than one person needs it. Mao Kai couldn't attack yet, so he could only forcefully suppress his anger and calmly explain, "Let's agree on a price." Anyway, Mao Kai and Yang Chen didn't deal with each other once or twice, and there was not so much exchange of greetings between the two. It was straightforward to get straight to the point, and it was the style of two people talking about business. How many? Yang Chen didn't worry about what the Greatest Heaven sect wanted so many spirit congealing pills to do, nor did he directly name a price, but asked the quantity. Without figuring out the quantity, how could he speak about the price? Last time, the Greatest Heaven sect had learned a lesson. For fear of not having enough spirit congealing pills in 50 years, Yang Chen deliberately asked Yang Chen to refine almost 5% of the amount as a reserve. But he didn't expect it to be consumed so early. This time, he was afraid that in addition to having enough to treat the disease, a large amount of extra was needed. 50 years have passed and almost more than half have been used, and there were only a few left. This time, the Greatest Heaven sect decided to get enough quantity at a time so as not to trouble Yang Chen again afterwards. 5,000. Mao Kai gritted his teeth and said the number, trembling involuntarily in his heart, faintly aching. This amount was enough for Yang Chen to offer a price that would make the Greatest Heaven sect speechless. Mao Kai couldn't help but feel distressed when he thought of the resources that could have been enjoyed by the Greatest Heaven sect's disciples, but now they would be handed over to the alchemist in front of him. 5,000, even Yang Chen couldn't help being stunned. Even if Yang Chen refined such a large amount by himself, it would take several years. The Greatest Heaven sect really lost their minds this time, so they were not afraid of being ripped off by him. Unexpectedly, the Greatest Heaven sect would have such great courage. Yang Chen thought that they would only take enough pills to cure Li Liheng's illness. But this was better. Firstly, it would save them the time to come to the sect to accumulate hatred. Secondly, Yang Chen didn't want to spend more time on the spirit congealing pills, it was best to take care of it once and for all. Is there anything else I would like to take from you? Yang Chen didn't make a direct offer, but asked rhetorically. Mao Kai rolled his eyes and showed an expression of I knew it on his face. The dignified elder of the Foreign Affairs Hall of the Greatest Heaven Sect seemed to have such a helpless expression only when he was in front of Yang Chen. If everything that happened here spread outside, he doesn't know how many people would have their jaw dropped in shock. In 10,000 years, the notes of several alchemy masters in the Greatest Heaven Sect, are they enough? Mao Kai said while observing Yang Chen's reaction. Mao Kai and other senior officials in the Greatest Heaven Sect carefully studied Yang Chen and found that besides fire seeds, he wanted medicinal materials and rarely other things. Even if you wanted, it was for others, not for your own use. With that said, what Yang Chen liked was to study the way of alchemy. Within 10,000 years. Yang Chen closed his eyes and began to ponder. The experience of these alchemy masters was indeed coveted, even if the Greatest Heaven Sect was not a specialized alchemy sect, but the masters' notes accumulated over 10,000 years were very rare materials. 1,000 pills. After pondering for a while, Yang Chen finally gave a number. These notes could be exchanged for 1,000 spirit congealing pills. Hearing the numbers, Mao Kai must have time in his heart to think if it was true. What Yang Chen liked was the way of alchemy, exploring the mystery of alchemy, and he was really blinded by the things he gave him before. If he had known it earlier, he would have used these alchemy notes that could be copied with jade slips. How many 7th grade fire seeds and elixir of more than 100,000 years could be saved? I will add 2 alchemy scriptures handed down from the spiritual world. Mao Kai and Yang Chen, like 2 profiteers, began to increase their bargaining chips little by little. Who do you want to deceive? Yang Chen looked contemptuous and suddenly changed his face, as if looking at an old liar. It was handed down from the spiritual world. Why don't you say it was handed down from the immortal world? Maybe then I will agree easily. As soon as Yang Chen's contrived expression appeared, Mao Kai's heart was immediately balanced. The small sect was the small sect, the means and consumption of some large sects were simply unimaginable to them. In Yang Chen's eyes, it was impossible to pass things down from the spiritual world to the mortal world, but in the eyes of the Greatest Heaven Sect, it was no longer so mysterious. Young man, sometimes things you don't understand don't mean it doesn't exist. Mao Kai's heart felt as if he drank a large glass of ice water in the summer, and he slowly took a sip from his teacup. Finally he felt a little pride in being from a big sect. It was rare to have the opportunity to give instructions like a senior in front of Yang Chen. Mao Kai was simply happy on his face and refreshing in his heart. What about the 5th grade alchemist master? Isn't he from a small sect? He doesn't even know the methods of some big sects. It's not impossible that something can be passed down from the spiritual realm. Mao Kai said slowly and once again glanced at Yang Chen's slightly open mouth with a slightly surprised expression, and his heart was filled with unquenchable joy. This was simply the most comfortable one of so many meetings with Yang Chen, which made Mao Kai a little happy. If this was the case every time they met, how good would it be? How could Mao Kai be so depressed that he vowed not to see Yang Chen again? It's a rare enjoyment. Mao Kai would definitely take up the opportunity and teach Yang Chen a good lesson. This is not a big deal, it's just that it will cost a few masters who have cultivated thousands of years of their cultivation base. Mao Kai tried to use the most understated expression and tone to tell the matter, while not forgetting to appreciate Yang Chen's listening and that kind of incredible expression afterwards. The cost will be thousands of years of their cultivation base. Yang Chen's performance at this moment was as if he had heard such outrageous things for the first time. What he had always believed to be correct fell apart in front of his eyes, as if the whole world had collapsed, and he stupidly asked, is there really something handed down? Such a manifestation was too normal. The common sense that has been heard since childhood was so subversively destroyed, no one could suddenly accept it. Moreover, for a small sect, it was simply unthinkable to pass down things from the spiritual world at such a price. Yang Chen didn't seem to suspect that Mao Kai would lie to him. Of course, at this moment, when Mao Kai wanted to lie to Yang Chen, it would be no less than digging a hole for himself. If this was the case, it means that what Mao Kai said was true and there really was such a thing. Of course. Mao Kai's sense of superiority of the big sect at the moment was simply uncontrollable, and he was thinking about whether he could take the opportunity to solicit Yang Chen. However, he also understands the priorities, first get things done right now and then talk about the extras later. 2 pill scriptures of the spiritual world. After the initial surprise, Yang Chen began to ponder it again. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and said the 2 pill scriptures of the spiritual world will be exchanged for 1,500 pills. To be honest, in Yang Chen's previous life, he was no more than a 6th grade alchemist master, and there were many outstanding high-level alchemists who even reached this level in the spiritual world. Using the alchemy of the senior alchemist of the greatest heaven sect to exchange for so many spirit congealing pills, Yang Chen definitely made a profit. What if I add a pill scripture handed down from the immortal world? Mao Kai's head was almost up to the sky, and his voice was like smashing a few words from the sky. This attitude could be used in front of Yang Chen, Mao Kai couldn't even think of it before coming. If he had known that Yang Chen liked such things, he would have used them for trading the first few times and saved the precious materials and enjoyed this kind of arrogant feeling. However, it was not too late to know now, and he would know how to deal with Yang Chen in the future. Hearing the pill scriptures pass down from the immortal world, Yang Chen's breathing was already heavier, and his eyes were a little red as he whirred like a small bellow. How about the remaining 2,500? This time, it was Yang Chen's turn to raise it carefully, waiting for Mao Kai to agree. Mao Kai's tears almost broke out with excitement, heaven and earth, it was finally time for Yang Chen to wait for his own decision. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 495. Trade. Not enough. Mao Kai directly began to shake his head and managed to grasp Yang Chen's veins. How could it be that Mao Kai was the master of the Foreign Affairs Hall? Besides, how could the grievances suffered in the past not be brought back today even if they were profitable? Not enough. Yang Chen's expression recovered a little, and it didn't look like the shock it had before. But he was still a little surprised by what Mao Kai said and couldn't help asking. Yes, not enough. Mao Kai deliberately repeated once more and also emphatically explained the word not enough. After 2 pauses, he continued add 30-second grade questioning inner heart pills, then maybe it would almost be the same. This time it was Yang Chen's turn to start thinking. Mao Kai was planning to recover all his previous losses at once. Of course, he had to appreciate Yang Chen's embarrassed expression, and he didn't urge him. He sat there slowly tasting tea as steady as Mount Tai, he couldn't express his thoughts on his face. As everyone knows, Yang Chen almost broke his belly with a smile at the moment. The contrived and performance just now really made Mao Kai think it was true and easily made the greatest heaven sect no longer suspect that he was involved with a spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method. Imagine a guy who doesn't even know that a consciousness clone could descend into the lower realm, could he know such a secret issue? As for the alchemy scriptures, Yang Chen was indeed in need. But to make Yang Chen accept Mao Kai's new price tag, it was absolutely impossible. Forget it, the price is too high, this younger generation junior doesn't need the pill scriptures of the immortal world. After Mao Kai was proud for a while, Yang Chen hesitated for a while and made up his mind and gave Mao Kai an unexpected answer anyway. This junior is only a 5th grade alchemist if there really is a pill recipe of the immortal world and the junior can't use it. So let's not use it. Mao Kai's joy slid back into his body directly following the cold air he was sucking in and almost burped his back. Having said so much, he put on a big show, watching Yang Chen about to fall into the hub. Suddenly, Yang Chen came to draw a salary from the bottom of the tank and quit, and Mao Kai fell into a sluggish state for a while. The alchemy of the spiritual world was good, and the alchemy of the immortal world was even better, but the spirit congealing pills was only the resource possessed by Yang Chen that they urgently needed. Those masters in the medicinal hall of the greatest heaven sect, which one hasn't read these alchemy scriptures? But in their own words, the more advanced the alchemy, the more incomprehensible it was. Perhaps it was because their realm was not high enough, they simply couldn't understand the method described in the scriptures. If it was understood that it was impossible to distract and control a variety of flames in alchemy, then using several different types of real water to condense into a fire attribute array to make alchemy was simply unheard of. Using water as fire to make alchemy, was it a joke? But the pill scripture was obviously not a fake obtained from other places, but the greatest heaven sect doesn't know how many times it has spent the opportunity of the lower realm consciousness clones. Let those clones of the lower realm piece together the memories, absolutely, there could be no fakes. The greatest heaven sect also made good calculations this time, doesn't Yang Chen like these things? They would give him a pill scripture that he can't use at all to suspend his appetite. Well, they got the pills they needed from him. Maybe Yang Chen would study these scriptures until he becomes crazy and they could ruin Yang Chen's life without acting up. Just like a primary school student who just learned that 0 was the smallest number, suddenly gave him a high school mathematics textbook to study and interpret imaginary numbers. He wouldn't even know the negative number, let alone what comes after the square root of the negative number. Maybe because there was no step-by-step progress, it would make him confused. This was also the reason why 5,000 spirit congealing pills were needed at a time. If they take enough pills, even if they use 10 pills a year, it would be enough for 500 years. 500 years was enough time for Li Lihing's spiritual awareness to reach a certain level without the need for spirit congealing pills, and Yang Chen would be destroyed. The plan was good, but they did not expect this change, at least Mao Kai didn't expect it. When he finished what he said before, he thought that Yang Chen had been stunned by the pill scripture handed down by the immortal world and would try to get it desperately. But he didn't expect Yang Chen to be so realistic. If he couldn't use it, he would not consider it for the time being and would not buy it at a big price. In this way, the greatest heaven sect's plan fell through. This doesn't matter. The problem was that the number of the spirit congealing pills were not enough, which was a big trouble. Looking at the speed Li Lihing was using the pills now, it seems that it was increasing. On average, 10 pieces were used for a spatial spiritual awareness contact. This was growing. More than 2,000 pieces were not enough to make the greatest heaven sect completely relieved. Knowing that his own greed has broken the major deal, Mao Kai immediately changed his words. Then I will ask for half of the questioning inner heart pills, 15 second grade, questioning inner heart pills, how about it? Anyway, it was not the first time to bargain, Mao Kai was very familiar with it. It's rare that once again, he took the initiative, so he had to get more things from Yang Chen. Yang Chen shook his head directly, he didn't want to give anything more at all. Yang Chen wanted these pill scriptures very much, but he wouldn't exchange them with extra questioning inner heart pills. 10. Mao Kai's face looked ugly again, and when discussing the price with Yang Chen, it seemed that Mao Kai never had the upper hand. Every time, Yang Chen said as much as he wanted. Mao Kai was determined to change the status quo this time. Still shaking his head, Yang Chen didn't even want to say anything. This attitude made Mao Kai's heart sink, but he immediately warned himself that the purpose of this trip was to get the spirit congealing pills and the extra questioning inner heart pills. If he can't get it, he can't get it. He also blamed himself for being greedy. Seeing Yang Chen tempted, he insisted on adding the questioning inner heart pills. If he really went back like this, the sect master would never give him a good face. Well, I will agree with you. Mao Kai immediately made a predecessor's generous appearance, patted his head, and directly made a decision. Just do what you said. After saying this, Mao Kai saw a playful smile on Yang Chen's face, and he was suddenly shocked. He had seen Yang Chen's lion's way of speaking many times. If he was to get greedy this time, it was not a good thing. Thinking of this, Mao Kai didn't care about his identity and hurriedly exclaimed, you can't increase the price. You said it yourself. You won't go back on your word, right? Seeing that Mao Kai was so nervous, Yang Chen also gave up his plan to increase the price more to slaughter the greatest heaven sect. Anyway, 2 pill scriptures from the spiritual world and 1 pill scripture from the immortal realm were definitely well earned for Yang Chen. This was the experience of the greatest heaven sect's alchemy masters in the immortal world, and it was exciting to think about it. Compared to the previous harvests, others might feel that Yang Chen has lost a lot this time. Originally, a few hundred spirit congealing pills could be exchanged for various 6th grade fire seeds, 6th earth true secret art, and 6th earth true essence and the like. During the last time, he even got hundreds of fire seeds and a 10,000-year-old medicine garden. This time he only got some pill scriptures that contained the experiences of alchemy. But for Yang Chen, these things were more rare than those of the previous medicinal materials and fire seeds. These experiences, no matter which sect it was placed in, were carefully collected as heirlooms. If they don't have a certain identity in the sect and they haven't made enough contributions, they won't even get to touch them. As for the pill scriptures of the spiritual world and the immortal world, it was even more rare. Except for some common pill formulas such as questioning inner heart pills and face retaining pills, other medicinal pill recipes were not known at all. They were not even known to people in the sect, and they don't even know the names of some pill medicines. One could imagine how precious these alchemy scriptures were. Although Yang Chen already has the elderly lord pill scripture and the profound pill scripture, most of the elderly lord pill scripture only talks about refining techniques. It just recorded and talked about the refining techniques of a dozen kinds of pills, which could not satisfy Yang Chen's need to become a master alchemist in the future. This time, the greatest heaven sect took the initiative to use the pill scriptures of the spiritual world and immortal world. That was because they still cannot understand the preciousness of these pill scriptures, otherwise they would not be so prodigal to use the pill scriptures that the elders of their sect spent so much effort to acquire. Mao Kai was definitely here this time. He negotiated the price with Yang Chen and immediately took out dozens of jade slips and handed them to Yang Chen. This was Yang Chen's usual habit of paying the money first, then giving the pills later. After the previous few transactions, the greatest heaven sect was quite satisfied with Yang Chen's credibility. So they don't care about taking out the reward first and letting Mao Kai bring it directly, saving time by running back and forth. After a rough sweep of his spiritual awareness, it was basically certain that these things were authentic. Yang Chen was not afraid that the content inside wasn't authentic. With Yang Chen's ability, a careful analysis would definitely find the problem. Once Yang Chen made it known that the greatest heaven sect used fake information to trade with Yang Chen. The greatest heaven sect reputation would be hit again, the gains outweigh the losses. Yang Chen didn't neglect and directly greeted the master of the palace after talking to his two wives. He plunged into the alchemy room and began to refine the pills. The spirit congealing pills was no difficulty for Yang Chen. Even if he was distracted and was doing it a few times, it was enough for him to make another thought and absorb and fuse a fourth-grade fire seed. After so many years of absorption, all the third-grade fire seeds on Yang Chen's body have been integrated into the yin-yang heaven-burning fire. Several fourth-grade fire seeds were also incorporated and its power was steadily improving. However, for Yang Chen, the fourth-grade fire seeds and below were basically laying the foundation and gradually perfecting the prototype for the yin-yang heaven-burning fire. Only when he started to absorb the fifth-grade fire seeds would it be the real time to shine. The current yin-yang heaven-burning fire could already simulate any kind of fire below the fourth grade, except that the power was simply not comparable to ordinary fire seeds. No one could see any flaws to the present position. Everyone, including those around Yang Chen, basically thought that Yang Chen's fire was the earth fire. As a fire cultivator, for a long time, Yang Chen hadn't used his flames to fight any enemy. This time he refined the spirit congealing pills for the greatest heaven sect, and when he arrived at the demon continent, Yang Chen had to gain a profit no matter what. It took Yang Chen 3 years to complete a total of 5,000 spirit congealing pills. When receiving the spirit congealing pills, even Mao Kai was taken aback. 5,000 spirit congealing pills, all of them turned out to be second-grade pills. Even Mao Kai couldn't help feeling a little bit taken aback. Yang Chen's move could be said to be very kind. It must be known that the greatest heaven sect only requested for first-grade spirit congealing pills. This time and last time, they basically got second-grade pills and the quality was absolutely impeccable. Yang Chen has been refining for 3 years and Mao Kai has been waiting in the Pure Yang Palace for 3 years. It was conceivable that he attaches great importance to the spirit congealing pills, but with this batch of pills, even if Mao Kai wanted to pick a fight, he couldn't pick a little bit. The old man has to say, although your price is high, the pill given is the best. Mao Kai couldn't help but sighed, complimenting Yang Chen, and then he didn't say much, left directly. After the palace lord greeted him, he hurried back to the greatest heaven sect. During the refining of the pill, Yang Chen also contacted Li Lihing's spiritual awareness several times here, each time it was a little finger, and it did not cause much change. Basically, there were no more mundane things in the short term. After Yang Chen finally talked to the palace master, he took Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling on the road to the demon continent. Before leaving, they must go to the Green Jade Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect to pick up Zhanxian and Sun Qingxu, there was no doubt about that. However, after the palace master and the elders knew Yang Chen's destination, they were somewhat reluctant to let him take such risks. Everyone has heard of the demon continent, but no one has been there. They only know that it was a place where cultivators of various races gather and killings were common, but no one knows what the specific situation was. Despite this, the dangers over there were all understood. Although the territory of the demon sect and monster race could be regarded as dangerous, compared with the demon continent, those two places were basically a peaceful paradise. Fortunately, Huyun was not there. He presided over the Banyan Tree Immortal's cave in the 10,000 Trees forest. Otherwise, he would definitely follow Yang Chen when he heard the news. That place full of killings was Huyun's favorite environment. In the previous life, Yang Chen had never been to the demon continent, separated by millions of miles in the vast sea, and even the flying shuttle had to fly on the sea for almost 10 years. In addition, all kinds of fierce sea beasts were rampant in the sea, waiting for idle experts, so he couldn't even go there. This was by no means a trivial matter. Back then, Yang Chen went into the domain of Luo Yuan in the peak Daching stage, who was about to face the tribulation. If it weren't for the sea jasper lamp, he would have been directly obliterated and there was no other possibility. Luo Yuan in the Daching stage was still like this. It was conceivable that to pass the entire sea area, he would almost pass through the domain of some sea kings like Luo Yuan. Even the two major sects were quite critical of Yang Chen's taking their genius disciples to this dangerous place to gain experience. But now Yang Chen was the husband of the two women. No matter how big the sect was, it seemed that they couldn't take care of the Yang family's affairs. In the end, the two women could only be armed by their respective sects to allow them to travel. After picking up the two women from their respective sects, the Yang family finally embarked on the road to the demon continent. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 496. The Inferred Truth. Their destination is the demon continent. When the 5 members of Yang Chen's family set off, many people knew their destination, and many people asked in surprise. Yang Chen didn't hide his destination. Since he had gone to the demon continent, where the killings were constant, he was naturally not afraid of adding some bright spears and secret arrows. The name of the demon continent was not unfamiliar among the major sects of the Tao sect. On the contrary, the disciples of the major sects have experienced it almost every other time. However, the experts of the various major sects who have gained experience in the demon continent were never a genius disciple, like the cold plum fairy and the dancing snow fairy, but a group of disciples who were not outstanding in aptitude and do not have much hope in the sect. Some have violated the rules of the sect or other circumstances, anyway, they were basically disciples who have not made their stand in the sect. If these disciples stayed in the sect, there were bound to be a tragedy, but going to the demon continent was different. As long as they could survive the ubiquitous fighting, they could basically become a master of one party. In this case, whether it was going back to the sect or fighting alone, their future would be very different. The small sect also has a similar situation, but unless they can't get on in the Tao sect, who wants to go to the demon continent at the risk of death? Even Yang Chen had never been there in his previous life. First, he didn't have the ability, and second, he didn't have that kind of determination. He wanted to leave his life to avenge his master. Generally speaking, Tao sect disciples rarely come back alive and only a few come back occasionally. In short, there were more people who have heard of it, but fewer people have been there. Young sect master, this is a great opportunity. It was heard that Yang Chen went out to the demon continent, and before that, Hall Master Mao Kai had obtained enough spirit congealing pills, Yang's eye said to Li Liheng without losing the opportunity. The last time he was imprisoned in the cold deep pool for several years, Yang's eye's body was severely damaged and he only recovered after many years. However, while he was recuperating, he hated Yang Chen even more, thinking about revenge against Yang Chen all the time. Kill him, isn't this the person who refines the pills no one can, what will I do when I need it in the future? Li Liheng didn't alienate Yang's eye for Yang Lan's sake, but he was not a brainless person. For Yang's eye's sake, Li Liheng didn't alienate him, but this challenge was directly rejected. Young sect master does not need to kill him. Yang's eye leaned into Li Liheng's ear and reminded in a low voice, do you really think that the Daching stage elder who's would really do that kind of thing for several pill recipes? What do you mean? Li Liheng wondered a little bit, but Yang's eye still had the idea of hinting at something on Yang Chen. Young sect master, look, all the spirit congealing pills you ate at the beginning were all first grade pills, but the quality was higher, right? Yang's eye saw that Li Liheng became interested and immediately seduced him, but I got it later that they were all second grade pills. So what? Li Liheng was taken aback and he thought it was a bit weird, but he still asked. Do you think Yang Chen would be so kind that he would refine your second grade pills after requesting first grade pills? Yang's eye reminded him calmly. You mean Li Liheng suddenly thought of a possibility and then became excited he has a magic weapon that can improve the quality of the pill? I'm afraid it's more than that. Yang's eye smiled evilly in his heart, pretending to be relaxed, and said when he was in the Yang family's village, he didn't know anything. When he arrived at the Pure Yang Palace, it was said that no one was able to point him, but he could rely on himself. By self-cultivation to achieve the nascent soul, and even the 5th grade alchemy master, young sect master, if there is nothing strange in it, this disciple would never believe it. Yang's eye has been targeting Yang Chen for many years, and naturally he has collected a lot of information about Yang Chen. Similarly, because of the importance of the 5th grade alchemist, the greatest heaven sect also found a lot of information, but they did not know what happened in the Yang family village, only Yang's eye knew about it. He was illiterate in the Yang family village. Li Liheng immediately grasped the news sensitively and asked in a deep voice. The disciple guarantees it with his life. Seeing Li Liheng take the bait, Yang's eye hurriedly hit the iron while it was hot, showing his loyalty, while making Li Liheng more interested. Let go and see the sect master at once. This time Li Liheng had learned well. He didn't do it himself like the last time, but quickly got up and took Yang's eye straight to the courtyard of Sect Master Li. Soon, the two appeared in front of Sect Master Li, and after a while, the Sect Master began to convene several core elders to discuss the matter. Is it true? The elders who heard the news suddenly asked with heavy expressions, everyone couldn't believe the news. An illiterate person could do this even when he joined the Pure Yang Palace and was suppressed by Chu Heng. It would be strange if there were no problems in it. If nothing else, he couldn't even read the cultivation methods, so how did he cultivate? Not to mention knowing the ancient characters and helping the greatest heaven sect to interpret the ancient key. The problem of illiteracy was easy to solve, but knowing ancient characters was impossible. The mortal world territory was so large that it was almost unimaginable. Even the ancient characters, which were the inheritance of the greatest heaven sect, could be lost. The disciple of the Pure Yang Palace who were flying from the greatest heaven sect would spend a month on their flying sword, so for him to be able to learn more ancient characters than the greatest heaven sect was a joke. Could it be that he got the inheritance of a certain senior? An elder immediately thought of this possibility. I'm afraid it's more than that. The deputy sect master shook his head and said it's no use to get the inheritance if you are illiterate. Unless you get all the memories, it's impossible. Memory? Impossible. Someone exclaimed immediately. It's not because of anything else, but to obtain other people's memory. Even the great elders at the peak of the daching stage cannot easily obtain it, no one in this mortal world has cultivated in this way. The group of core elders have been arguing about this possibility, but the conclusion of everyone's argument was the same, that no one could get all the memories of others, even obtaining half of them couldn't be done. Otherwise the consciousness clone descending into the lower realm won't have to be so troublesome, they would just think of a way to get the memory of the clone, without waiting for him to slowly recall it. There is a way, maybe it's possible. Sect Master Li groaned for a long time, and when everyone agreed about the same thing, he spoke and attracted everyone's attention. If there is an expert using the method of body possession, like forcibly entrusting one's primordial soul in a certain magic weapon for nourishment, it is also a very possible method. Li Sect Master finally said his guess. Boom, after listening to the judgment of Sect Master Li, everyone suddenly started talking. It must be said that this conjecture of Sect Master Li was really reasonable. The method of depriving others of their memory from an inheritance was not feasible, but this method was absolutely possible. The more the discussion, the more excited the crowd became, especially after the analysis of the possibility of this method by several master refiners, the more the people couldn't stop. If the sect master's guess was correct, then the reason why Yang Chen was so outstanding may be because of such a magic weapon. His cultivation was definitely from an ancient senior guidance, otherwise it was impossible for a guy with mediocre aptitude to have such a speed of cultivation. As for the alchemy, it's even more so, could a Zhanxian stage master casually become a 5th grade alchemist? If there wasn't a cultivator who doesn't know how tough it was, it would be impossible. Being able to recognize ancient texts shows that the soul in this magic weapon was already a master from tens of thousands of years ago. For such a long time, the primordial spirit has stayed in the magic weapon that could warm and nourish the spiritual awareness, and the strength of the spiritual awareness was almost certain. If judged in this way, it was natural to be excited. In this way, whether it was a spirit congealing pill or a questioning inner heart pill, it was based on this soul that they didn't know which magic weapon he had possessed. This also explains why Hu Qianyi, as a master of the daching stage, would plot against Yang Chen. It was true that Hu Qianyi had concealed the news from the greatest heaven sect, and now that he was imprisoned by the Pure Yang Palace, it was impossible to ask him for confirmation. However, this speculation has been recognized by everyone as the answer closest to the truth. Otherwise, all the magical things that happened to Yang Chen could not be explained. Before, everyone had been wondering how Yang Chen became a 5th grade alchemist, and now they have almost a perfect explanation. At this time, Yang Chen took his 4 wives to the demon continent. As long as they leave the territory of the Tao sect, they would have an opportunity. Do they need to hesitate with such a good opportunity? It's a matter of great importance. Let Great Elder Liu take 10 late Yuning stage masters, catch up with Yang Chen's family, and bring those things back. Of course, Sect Master Li would not lose the opportunity, he immediately made a decision and sent a great elder directly to go after Yang Chen. Just when a certain core elder promised to leave to make arrangements, Sect Master Li suddenly paused and then ordered Yang Chen's wife named Gao Yu, "Don't kill her, bring her back to me." She cultivated water attribute cultivation method with fire attribute spirit roots. "I suspect that there is a secret in her, maybe she is a good furnace for me." "Yes, Sect Master." The elder paused and immediately agreed. Senior Liu Fengzi pointed out that the cultivation of the sect master was stuck and a double cultivation between him and a cultivator with water attribute spirit root was needed to break through. Now it seemed that the sect master had his eyes on Gao Yu. This was not a big deal, if the sect master of the greatest heaven sect just needs a cauldron, isn't it a matter of saying a word? How many people would rush to become the furnace of the sect master but didn't have the opportunity, let alone a woman of Yang Chen? This incident was discovered by Yang's eye. "I will remember your great achievement." The master of the sect clearly distinguished rewards and punishments and affirmed Yang's eye's role here. Take him to the sect's secret pavilion, allow him to go in and choose a magic weapon as a reward. When the doormaster spoke, Yang's eye was extremely excited almost instantly. After suffering for so long in the greatest heaven sect, he finally got a chance to grow. Yang's eye has secretly vowed in his heart that as long as he gets the magic weapon of the secret pavilion, he would practice diligently and one day he would step on Yang Chen under his feet. Of course, the premise was that Yang Chen could still live to that time. Yang Chen didn't know that because of Yang's eye, the sect master of the greatest heaven sect still had a covetous heart for Gao Yu in this life and wanted to capture her as his own cauldron. He was now crossing the sea with 4 women. Everyone has their own way to reach the demon continent and it was unique that Yang Chen used high-speed magic weapon to rush through a large area of the sea. Apart from Yang Chen, there was no one else who did it like this. As soon as the four women entered the ocean, they discovered that Yang Chen's entire personality had changed, and there was a faint murderous intent that was difficult to detect on him. If it weren't for living with Yang Chen for a while, the women might not have discovered this. This time we are going to the demon continent, we are going to gain experience. After setting off on the sea, Yang Chen warned the four women very seriously. To be honest, I have never been there. I don't know what it is like over there, but there is one thing that must be kept in mind. What? Sun Qingxu asked quickly. Whether it is encountered at sea or on the mainland, they will not show any mercy to you or me. The only thing we have to do is to take any weapon we can use and kill the other party. Otherwise, we will only be killed by the other party. Your sect, fame, master, being a genius disciple in the past are nothing in the demon continent. In the charming faces of the four charming wives, Yang Chen said very solemnly, no enemy will care about these, and no one will take pity on you. Who will our enemy be? Zhanxian was more concerned about this question. No matter how ferocious the enemy was, as long as you knew who the enemy was, you could always guard against it. Theoretically, the enemy should be the demonized monsters and cultivators on the demon continent. After thinking for a while, Yang Chen said the answer he knew. Who exactly? Sun Qingxu still asked quietly. Anyone except us. Yang Chen looked at the expressions of the other three women and knew that they had already thought about a lot of things, so Yang Chen only explained to Sun Qingxu, who was a little simpler. What if they are from my Blue Cloud sect? Sun Qingxu seemed to be unable to accept such a thorough conception of friend or foe, she lowered her head slightly and asked in a low voice. Knowing that Sun Qingxu was coming to the demon continent to gain experience, Elder Hua explained some common knowledge about the demon continent to Sun Qingxu. In fact, only Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling didn't know much, Zhanxian and Sun Qingxu had been indoctrinated a lot. Elder Hua cherished her disciple and even used her status as the sect elder to get the contact information of some of the disciples of the Blue Cloud sect in the demon continent and told Sun Qingxu that if she had trouble, she should go to the sect disciples for help. In any case, those disciples who have been able to take root in the demon continent are always better than their newcomers. With these people taking care of her, she believed nothing would happen to Sun Qingxu. On the demon continent, even the people of your own sect have to be guarded against. Faced with Sun Qingxu's question, Yang Chen vomited this helpless answer. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 497. Cultivating on the way. Next, Yang Chen used his actions to show the four sweet wives what it meant to be cold-blooded and ruthless. The sea monster beasts encountered along the way in the vast ocean, regardless of whether they were hostile to them, Yang Chen would attack when they met. The one that could be killed quickly, Yang Chen never left his hands, directly attacked them, and they were quickly beheaded. When there was no gap in their realm and the battle needs to be deadlocked for a long time, Yang Chen always runs at high speed and never stays for a while in place. This situation was fine once or twice, but after a few consecutive times, the women seemed to be a little confused. Why do you want to run? Sun Qingxu was puzzled by this, obviously it was not impossible to win. As long as he persisted for a period of time, the five people could kill them when they attacked together, but they had to run away, which seemed very shameless. 2 reasons. Yang Chen stretched out 2 fingers without hesitation and said clearly, first, we are on the road now and we can't delay too much time on the road. The same is true on the road of spirit power cultivation. I know what my main goal is now and I can't forget my original purpose just because I'm disturbed by some annoying things. In addition, the same is true in cultivating skills, not as good as a master, I believe you know better than me. Listening to Yang Chen's words, the women were taken aback. Although it was an argument to say that it was not to delay the journey, the latter words were the main point. Unexpectedly, the 4 women began to think about what was the main goal of their cultivation now, was it just to experience it? Or were there other more important things? When they were cultivating, the elders of the sect taught them that they must specialize in one discipline, either alchemy or refining. The 4 women did not deviate from this. In addition to cultivation, Gao Yu specialized in refining and Gongsun Ling even cultivated the formation techniques, which was purer than Gao Yu's. As for Zhanxian, she had nothing more than her flying sword. Needless to say, Sun Qingxu was willing to abolish her cultivation level at the beginning because of her own cultivation mistakes. The persistence in her heart was by no means comparable to ordinary people. Second, it is also to show you the easiest way to survive after arriving in the demon continent. After Yang Chen and the other women thought about it, he put down the 2 fingers and said with a smile, if you cannot attack, escape right away, this is the safest way. The demon continent was extraordinary and one carelessness could cost them their lives. The Dao sect's fighting style was incompatible with this place to a large extent. If they can't find an effective way to gain a foothold in the initial stage, then the four women would be in danger. Even though Yang Chen has great abilities, it was impossible to keep an eye on the four women all the time. Therefore, personal protection was definitely not as good as letting the four women master their own way of survival, and giving people fish was not as good as teaching people how to fish. This was the truth. Then if it is an opponent that can be defeated, but it will only take a longer time, can't we attack? Sun Qingxu's words actually represent the meaning of the four women, and only she asked them out. No. Yang Chen categorically denied Sun Qingxu's words and at the same time denied the thoughts of the four wives. Why? With the other three sisters backing her up, Sun Qingxu looked at her husband without fear and put on a posture of dissatisfaction, waiting for Yang Chen to explain. Gao Yu, Gongsun Ling and Zhanxian stood behind Sun Qingxu in cooperation, looking at Yang Chen with 8 pairs of wonderful eyes. I know that you are all genius disciples in your sect who have reached the realm of the wielding stage at a young age. Facing a guy who can't even be regarded as a powerful enemy and fleeing without a fight will make you very dissatisfied. Yang Chen saw his wives all stood opposite him and he couldn't help but gave a wry smile and then began to explain facing the enemy you must defeat them, right? The four women nodded in unison and the neat movements of the four extremely beautiful faces in front of Yang Chen were simply the most pleasing painting. But Yang Chen didn't feel any appreciation at this moment. He had to persuade the four women to prepare for the cruelest battles ahead. If you really think like this and plan to do so, you may not even survive a month in the demon continent. Yang Chen was very rudely attacking the girls without saving face at all. Even if your cultivation is twice as strong as it is now, it would be the same result. Yang Chen's appearance was too serious and the four women couldn't help being careful. As their husband, Yang Chen would never cheat them. If this was the case, then Yang Chen has enough reason to say this. The Dao sex fighting method was very similar to that of an upright confrontation between two armies. Even if it was a way of eliminating the demons to protect the Dao, you have to shout from a distance and tell the other person to face death before you could attack. There was nothing wrong with this method. As a decent person, of course, he cannot be punished without teaching. The other party must have a way to kill him before he would kill them or make an appointment early and issue a life and death challenge. Yang Chen has experienced this several times. However, if you always insist on such a method and don't know how to work it out, then it's a trivial matter to run into a demon clan disciple. The other party could use sneak attacks and you could always be prepared with caution. The problem was that there were more than monsters and demons on the demon continent. In fact, all the cultivators were a group. The common enemy of everyone was the monsters that had been contaminated and demonized by the devilish Kai. Any cultivator, whether it was a Dao cultivator or demon cultivator or an ordinary monster cultivator, once accidentally invaded by demonic Kai and unable to resist the invasion of the demonic Kai, he will be demonized by the Kai and become a monster without any normal thinking. Seeing a living creature with spirit power, it would absorb the other's spirit power under the instinct to strengthen oneself. There are only two consequences of the spirit power being absorbed by a demonic fiend, either death or becoming a new demonic fiend. In fact, the war in the immortal world that Yang Chen knew about was started thousands of years later in his previous life, was to deal with a more powerful demonic fiend. It's just that Yang Chen still doesn't know if these demonic fiends were related to the devil. After some powerful demonic fiends die, the demonic eye of their whole body would condense into a magical demon orb. After the demon orb was processed to remove the demonic eye, it was the best medicine for cultivators to promote their cultivation base, even compared to 1,000-year medicinal materials such as ginseng, it was even stronger. You must know that before the demonization of the cultivator, it had its own good strength. The demon orb was almost another way of gathering the essence of life and the essence of cultivation, which was of great benefit to the cultivator. The stronger the demonic fiend, the higher the condensed demon orb, and the better the effect. Of course, it was best to be able to kill with one blow. But once caught in a hard fight, it would definitely be a disaster for the cultivator. The way demonic fiends fight was fundamentally different from normal people's thinking. Generally, fiends always appear in groups. If you were surrounded by several fiends and there was no means to quickly kill the opponent or escape, in addition to being attacked by the fiends, you must also resist the invasion of the demonic Kai, no matter how high your cultivation base was. It would be very stressful. Therefore, this method advocated by Yang Chen was definitely the most suitable method after arriving in the demon continent. It was not only useful when you have a firm foothold in the early stage, but also applicable to veterans who have lived there for a long time. Of course, after adapting, everyone would naturally develop their own way. Each method was extremely suitable for combat and survival, and there would never be another direction. This is not quite the same as what our sect knows. Sun Qingxu and Zhanxian obviously have more doubts. What Yang Chen said was completely different from the opinions of some people in the sect who have been to the demon continent and returned alive. Which one soul they listen to? The demonic eye is constantly spreading, but it is temporarily restricted to the demon continent and there is no particularly good way to suppress it. Yang Chen explained very seriously in order not to cause unnecessary panic, the entire demon continent is sealed by a formation and there are only a few holes in and out. Everyone who enters the demon continent will be forced to take a heart demon oath and must not disclose the true situation on the demon continent to outsiders in any way. For this reason, those masters who set up the seal formation at the beginning have unified a set of lies so that the masters returning from the demon continent can deal with the interrogation of others. Yang Chen quickly explained generally, the masters who return alive will have a great future and will never use their own life in this matter to please a certain sect. These things were all earned by Yang Chen from a dying expert in the spiritual world. That expert had experienced the demon continent and he had always been tight-lipped. It wasn't until he met a major enemy in the spiritual world and he was dying that he told this to Yang Chen. Yang Chen was only half knowledgeable and didn't even know what the demon kai was. So he only had this concept, but he was still very vague about the real situation of the demon continent. It could almost be said that he doesn't understand the real demonic fiends at all. Listening to Yang Chen's words, the four women were a little shocked for a while. Who so generously arranged to seal off a continent and even not let Dao sect leaders, including Dao sect leaders like the greatest heaven sect know, was it another unknown force? Regarding this, Yang Chen wasn't very clear, everything could only be known after arriving in the demon continent in person. However, some ways of living have to be instilled in advance for the four women, lest they suffer at that time. To enter the demon continent, you have to face cruel killings. Yang Chen waited for everyone to digest and continued that demonic fiends are everyone's common enemy, but our enemies are not only fiends, but there are countless others who would try to snatch your demon orbs, and they will try all methods. Each demon orb is equivalent to years or even decades of hard cultivation, and no one will remain unmoved. The reason why the masters who could go back alive have a bright future was because of the existence of the demon orb. No matter how poorly qualified people are, after they piled up with this kind of cultivation base that was almost equivalent to the accumulation of time, he could always become a master of a generation. Coupled with a strong combat experience, there was a 100% chance they would become a peerless master. How could no one know about something heaven-defying like the demon orb? Zhanxian was very concerned about improving her cultivation and immediately asked the key point: if we can find a large number of demon orbs, can the cultivation base be greatly improved? Theoretically speaking, yes. Yang Chen directly gave a positive answer. However, I don't recommend you to do this. In addition, there are not many opportunities to get demon orbs. Not every monster would condense demon orb after death, only monsters that are strong enough to a certain degree would have the demon orb after death and they cannot consume too much kai fighting before death. Yang Chen didn't know what kind of fiends in what realm of cultivation level would condense the demon orbs, but he also knew that the chance of getting the demon orbs was probably 1 in 10,000, which was very difficult. As for why Yang Chen didn't recommend that all the girls take the demon orbs, there was another reason. For cultivators who are not so outstanding in their cultivation aptitude, using these external objects to improve their cultivation was a faster way than their own cultivation speed. But for a genius disciple like Zhanxian and Sun Qingxu, this was not a good idea. No matter how good the external power was, it wasn't better than the power that comes out of self-cultivation. For the four wives of Yang Chen, they came here to gain experience, that was, they really came to only gain experience, as for other gains, they didn't need to think too much about it for the time being. This was what Yang Chen said at the beginning, to understand what their main purpose was, if it was a trivial matter, then they would give it up. The four women finally understood Yang Chen's good intentions and began to treat them cautiously. The experience along the way was completely in accordance with Professor Yang Chen's method, one strike without stopping. It was especially important that they could quickly determine the strength of the opponent in this strike and then make further choices. This was the real focus. While practicing this way of fighting, the four women were consciously fighting each other. Everyone knew in their hearts that the five people could not be together forever and that they wouldn't always live under the care of Yang Chen's wings, which was not a good thing for anyone. The four women understood this and Yang Chen himself understood it. Although the girls were very harmonious when they were together, they were still competing in their hearts. At least Yang Chen knows that Sun Qingxu and Zhanxian were uniting against Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling, and there would be some kind of competition between Sun Qingxu, Zhanxian and Gao Yu and Gongsun Ling. Everyone was not convinced to be overwhelmed by others and naturally they worked hard and competed secretly. Normally they practiced a lot of combined attacks, but the frequency of each individual was not low and no one wanted to see that others were better than themselves. They were geniuses in cultivation, and after being instructed by Yang Chen, although the cultivation of the 4 girls has not been directly improved, their combat effectiveness has risen sharply. He believed that those guys who could still compete with all the girls before they set off would definitely die ugly against the 4 girls at this moment. During the training of the girls, the demon continent finally appeared in front of everyone. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 498. Kill him. They rushed from the central plains to the demon continent, but they still spent a full 13 years of wandering on the sea. Everyone finally saw the shadow of the demon continent before their eyes. They didn't even need to judge, everyone knew that this must be the demon continent. Before getting close, they could detect the restriction of the formation. 100 miles away, a warning sound was heard. 100 miles ahead is the demon continent, if you want to live, turn back quickly. A majestic but annoyed voice repeated the above 4 sentences very solemnly, as if to warn the people who approached where this place was. Finally arrived at the destination, all the women had been waiting for a while. They didn't know what it looks like on the demon continent and what challenges they would encounter. During these 13 years, all the girls have been training all the way on the sea. They encountered countless sea beasts in the Daching and Yuaning stage and even almost hit the territory of a sea beast that was in the midst of a tribulation. If it hadn't been for Yang Chen to discover it early and use the sea jasper lamp to shield their spiritual awareness and escape, maybe they would have been drawn into the range of the tribulation and be attacked by the tribulation. There were fights almost every day, and every day they had to flee. Even most of the time, Yang Chen would drive the shuttle to observe from a distance until the women or one of the wives ended the battle or escaped from the attack range of the sea beasts, then they would be picked up by the shuttle. By the time they arrived here, the women had extremely rich combat experience. In other words, they had extremely rich experience in protecting themselves. It was better to practice in advance at sea than to practice after facing the demonic fiends. When they were about 10 miles away from the coast, there was a voice telling everyone which direction they should go in to avoid being attacked by the formation. Yang Chen didn't succeed either. He honestly followed the voice prompts and circled the coastline for almost thousands of miles before he came to a portal that could enter the demon continent. It's really a huge portal, it wasn't known who made it. The huge stone tens of feet high was carved as a whole, with dragons and phoenixes, it was exquisitely unusual. When the crowd appeared and when they took the shuttle to enter the portal, under the huge arched portal, they looked like 5 tiny ants. Their spiritual awareness could not penetrate inside the door at all, nor could they even see the scene inside the door. It's the same situation all the way along the coastline for thousands of miles. On the sea, they didn't know what was going on in the demon continent. As soon as they entered the huge arch, Yang Chen was slightly taken aback. Inside the arch was a huge square, it was more than enough to hold tens of thousands of people. On the other side of the square, there was another slightly smaller portal. But at this moment the door was closed tightly and it wasn't known when it would open. At this moment, on this huge square, there were hundreds of cultivators scattered around, some people and monsters, each gathered into several small groups, scattered in all directions. Seeing someone come in, they all looked up. The 4 women had already covered their faces with veils before they entered the door, but the slender figure and perfect body of the 4 of them still attracted a lot of people's coveted eyes. This veil was refined by Yang Chen during the practice of the women at sea. While hiding the face, it did not affect the sight at all. It would not feel uncomfortable, it was very suitable for 4 women. The people sitting in the square basically didn't speak much, scattered from the east to the west, and everyone looked at them. They all seemed to. Spiritual awareness could already be used, but no one would easily use it. So many people gather here, and it was no less than provocative to use their spiritual awareness to probe easily. Everyone was sitting and waiting in the square. Yang Chen was of course no exception. He directly looked for a direction and took the 4 women to the edge and then occupied the corner and sat down. Everyone in the square, almost all of them stared straight at Yang Chen when the 5 of them walked over there. Some guys looked at the attractive figures of the 4 women and seemed to have begun to drool. However, no one spoke, no one acted, everyone just watched. It was a young man who had been sitting in a corner. Seeing Yang Chen and his party, his eyes lit up. When Yang Chen and the others sat down, he stood up and walked towards Yang Chen. The action of a single person immediately attracted everyone's attention. Everyone's eyes followed the young man who was in action. They watched him walk to a place 2 feet away from Yang Chen's family and stopped. The entrance and exit door is opened once a month and it will be opened in 3 days. Before opening the door, no one is allowed to do anything here. The young man was born very handsome and he didn't have sturdiness at all. He also had a cultivation base in the early Yuaning stage and it seemed that there was no threat at all. Thank you for telling me. Yang Chen thanked the other party, please forgive me, I Yang Rishing, don't know how your excellency is called. Being in the demon continent, Yang Chen also had a cautious heart and didn't tell the other party his true identity. I am Li Cheng. The young man also bowed his hands in return, but his eyes turned to the four women. Here are my few friends. Yang Chen casually introduced them to Li Cheng, Hanmei, Liu Yun, Shu Wu, Bai Xia. This time we plan to come here together to gain experience. Yang Chen himself used a fake name, so naturally he would not tell the other party the true names of the four women. The demon continent was insidious and treacherous, and being careful was indispensable. Good to meet you. Li Cheng arched his hands at the women and said in a low voice, then turned and left. But before leaving, he whispered to everyone, maybe we will meet again in the future. Watching Li Cheng return to his original corner, Yang Chen realized that Li Cheng was alone. It was very rare for anyone to come to the demon continent to experience it alone, but Yang Chen soon discovered that he wasn't the only one, a little strange and rare. Among the hundreds of people around, at least 3 were sitting alone. Those 3 guys seemed to be at the mid to late wielding stage, and at a glance, you could see their sturdiness. Even if you don't know them, you know that they must have been honed in some difficult places. Although no murderous aura was released from their bodies, the fierce smell could be found no matter how far away. Among the more than 100 people on the square, there were only a few Jitan stage masters, and the others were masters of the wielding stage, but it seems that so many people combined were not as fierce as these 3 guys. Most people's eyes were always focused on the 3 masters, intentionally or unintentionally. Regarding this, the 3 of them didn't even think about it, sitting on their own, as if they hadn't been affected at all. After observation, even the eyes of the 4 women began to sweep over the 3 of them, but Yang Chen's attention was always on Li Cheng, who had just come to talk to them. Li Cheng's performance did not seem to be special. Strictly speaking, it was only slightly enthusiastic. He came over to tell Yang Chen the day when the door would be opened. Judging from his realm exposed to the outside, Li Cheng was just in the early wielding stage, and it was not a threat to most people here. Moreover, the kind of tenderness he showed, as if he was enthusiastic and not guarding against others, was easy for everyone to ignore. Bao Yu, Gongsunling, Zhanxian, and Sun Qingxu were carefully observing everyone on the square. Although these people may all be in the same camp after they enter, no one could guarantee that there would be no other plots. The 4 women were very defensive in their hearts. Soon, the 4 girls discovered that Yang Chen seemed to be paying attention to Li Cheng consciously or unconsciously, and they were all puzzled. They wanted to ask, but this was not the place, they could only hold their doubts in their hearts. Li Cheng's aura was not outstanding, but Yang Chen always felt a little strange, but for a while, he couldn't find the strangeness. Many cultivators who came here to gain experience may have been wrongly induced by people, thinking that this was a place of gaining experience where they fight each other. Before arriving in the square, they had been listening to the guidance of the mysterious voice. In the square, everyone was waiting for the door to open, and it was fine for the time being. However, as the opening time approached, some people began to have some unnecessary thoughts. There was another hour when the door was about to open, and everyone on the square was no longer sitting honestly and began to walk around. Boy, you came here alone, be careful. How about taking refuge with us and ensuring your safety? You little Jitan stage masters also dare to come to the demon continent. If you want to survive, become this old man's servant, this old man can take care of you. First of all, the few people who were alone and the cultivators in the Jitan stage were drawn in and threatened by the gangs of several people around. Of course, none of them dared to do this to the 3 seemingly fierce cultivators, but aimed at Li Cheng and a few small groups of 1 or 2 people. When Yang Chen thought he would stay out of the matter temporarily, someone began to target him. To be precise, it was the women around him. At this moment, in front of Yang Chen, 10 people came from afar, all of them were men and women. The leader was a man who looked very handsome. The man was also followed by 4 women, but at first glance, the women were his concubines or slaves, and they were very attached to the man. One has even been in the arms of the man. The remaining 5 were very fierce men, like the man's bodyguards or servants. Directly facing Yang Chen was a brawny man with his arms folded. My young master has taken a fancy to these friends of yours and wants to invite them to cultivate together. When the brawny man spoke, his face almost turned up to the sky, he was just looking at people with his chin, very disdainful. Liu San, be polite, don't scare the young ladies. The young master's voice came from behind the strong man, ordering very casually. The brawny man was in the wielding stage. However, he was called a vulgar name like Liu San, with only a surname and no first name, and was replaced by numbers. Obviously, he was a type of domestic servant. Yes, young master. The strong man hurriedly bowed and agreed and then moved forward, whispering viciously in a voice that only Yang Chen could hear. Boy, know your limit, otherwise you will face an ugly end. Fuck off. Yang Chen squinted at the brawny man and yelled. The brawny man was taken aback and then a cruel glow appeared in his eyes, a grinning smile appeared on his face. My young master likes you women, he wants them as his cauldrons. If you don't want to die now, get out of here. Yang Chen snorted again. This time the brawny man smiled savagely again and left. Immediately, the young master hugged the woman in his arms and walked over. Put down your veil and let me see what kind of flowers and moon looks you have in the end. The young master's arrogant voice spoke, but this time he was directly facing the four girls and ignored Yang Chen. The four girls didn't even raise their heads and ignored the young master. They didn't know where he appeared from. There was no way to know everyone, this mortal world was too big, the Dao sects only occupied a small piece of territory, countless cultivators were distributed on the vast territory, it was normal not to know where others emerged from. You will be good cauldrons. The young master didn't take it seriously. He just looked at the four women unscrupulously with a gaze like appreciating the goods and praised them. The woman in his arms seemed unhappy, but the young master didn't care about it, his arms tightened and her face changed slightly. The young master's behavior, she has long been accustomed to it, nothing more than fighting for favor. The four women, even if they were favored for a while, could not compete with her. The four women still ignored him, but the young master smiled disapprovingly. He has seen a lot of women like this. At first, they ignored him and when they really knew his status, they would flock to him. The four women around him were proof. Liu San. The young master shouted at the brawny man just now, looking at the four women. Liu San is here, young master. Liu San immediately shouted loudly. Kill him as soon as he enters the door. The young master dropped a sentence, then put his arms around the woman in his arms and walked to the door. Liu San replied in a low voice and then shook his head left and right. Two strong men similar to Liu San stood beside Yang Chen, looking at Yang Chen as if looking at a dead person. The people on the square have already discussed the moment. Those who should make a decision have already made a decision. They were clearly divided into several groups, a few fewer than they were at the beginning. The door to the demon continent was finally opened in the expectation of everyone and then several close groups walked in first. Then came the lonely fellows. Afterwards, the young master and his servants and concubines also stepped into the door with a laugh. In the square, only the 5 members of Yang Chen's family were left. Only then did they slowly get up and walk towards the portal. Are you ready? At the edge of the portal, Yang Chen asked the 4 women. Yes. The 4 women nodded in response. Let's go. Yang Chen laughed and stepped into the door first. The 4 women followed, all of them entered the demon continent. Boy, die. Liu San's familiar voice sounded directly in everyone's ears. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 499. Here is not a playground. Several rays of light came straight at Yang Chen, without giving Yang Chen any preparation time at all, deliberately wanting Yang Chen's life as soon as he came in. It seemed that the people around this young master were resolute and vigorous, without the kind of greeting nonsense, directly attacking the opponent, neat and tidy. Yang Chen stood there, as if frightened stupidly, motionless. Seeing that the 3 sword lights were about to descend on Yang Chen, 3 more rays of light suddenly appeared beside Yang Chen, which was able to block the flying sword that would kill him. Dao Yu, Sun Qingxu and Zhanxian shot at the same time, each blocking a sword. Immediately afterwards, they rushed out and fought with Liu San and others who rushed up. Ong Ling quickly stood in front of Yang Chen, as if she was Yang Chen's bodyguard, staring at her surroundings, not daring to relax at all. The young master, who was waiting to see the excitement not far away, became sluggish at this moment. What situation was this? A man hiding behind several women. It turned out that these women were not Yang Chen's concubines, but bodyguards. Thinking about the few women around him, all of them were cultivation cauldrons, and their cultivation bases were worse than his own. Letting them be bodyguards was simply looking for death. Compared with the women around Yang Chen, it seems that the people around him were a lot worse. After killing the nasty kid Yang Chen this time, he must subdue these few women who seemed to have good aptitudes. They could be his cauldron and also be his bodyguards, just imagining it brought him excitement. Be careful, don't hurt the girls. The young master suddenly thought of a problem and hurriedly shouted loudly. It would be a pity if Liu San and the others hurt the girls regardless. Thinking of the beautiful figures of the 4 women, the young master looked forward to seeing their beautiful faces under the veil. In any case, Liu San and the others should not be allowed to destroy these wonderful things. What responded to him was not the familiar Liu San yelling yes, young master, but a bloody human head flying straight towards him. He was just immersed in the wonderful fantasy, the young master did not pay attention to the battle. He was very confident in the abilities of Liu San and the others. You know, these guys were on his turf. But it was not just a master of the late Yuanying stage. Yang Chen and the others were all in the early Yuanying stage, so it's not a problem at all. However, this bloody head destroyed all his beautiful imagination. It was not a good thing to behead the beautiful woman alive, it was too horrible. The young master was planning to sweep the head away with a flick of his sleeves to prevent him from seeing the disappointment he shouldn't see, but suddenly his eyes widened and looked at the flying head incredibly. It's impossible for a beautiful woman's head to be so ugly. On the head that kept tumbling, two big eyeballs staring at him, coupled with a shocked expression on his face, perfectly captured the owner of the head's dying expression at the moment of being beheaded. Those eyes were so familiar, it has been with him for more than 100 years. At this time, the young master realized that the head turned out to be Liu San's head that he had just ordered. The woman in his arms also saw the head clearly and screamed in horror. The few of them were promoted to the wielding stage by the young master, using secret methods and various medicinal herbs, where they would gain experience of fighting. In the past, they watched the young master kill people, but none of their own people have been killed, this was the first time. Looking at the head of a familiar person, the several women screamed in horror. With the blood dripping continuously in the air, it was as if a horror movie was being staged. But the screams of the several women, another head flew up. It was thrown in this direction, with the same blood dripping and the same dead eye. "Leave me one." Gongsun Ling let out a coquettish voice, which passed through the face-covered veil to the ears of everyone present. Of the three servants who took action, there was only one left who had been severely injured by Sun Qingxu and was about to be beheaded. Just as his opponent Sun Qingxu was about to do something, when she heard Gongsun Ling's cry, she flew up and kicked the hapless guy in front of Gongsun Ling. Gongsun Ling was not polite and quickly received the seriously injured guy in the mountain river geographical map. With this neat movement, no one could imagine the kind of grinning expression under Gongsun Ling's veil. The master in the wielding stage suddenly disappeared without a trace, and suddenly everyone was shocked. The two remaining servants of the young master hurriedly stood in front of the young master, covering the young master and his woman behind them, looking at Yang Chen and his party with horror. "It's a pity that you killed them so soon." Gongsun Ling's voice resounded beautifully again. It was very beautiful, just by listening to her voice, you can imagine how beautiful the face behind the veil was. But on this occasion, Gongsun Ling's voice made people involuntarily horrified. When the crowd looked at Gongsun Ling's gaze, it was as if they were looking at some cannibal demon. It was a terrifying way to die without a whole body, but in front of a girl with a beautiful body and a beautiful voice, it seems that he can't even do this. He disappeared without a trace in an instant, and it was not that he disappeared out of thin air, but was received by someone in a space magic weapon. The little girl was not afraid of what kind of damage a master in the late wielding stage would cause when entering her space magic weapon. This could only be explained by one thing, that was, she has completely eaten that guy. Many people were waiting here with the intention of watching a show. It was not that no one saw the scene in the square just now. People have the habit of watching the excitement, especially if you look at the excitement, you could roughly estimate the strength of both sides. For those guys who may become their future opponents, everyone wants to pay attention. It's just that, looking at it this time, half of the people felt chilly in their hearts. The three women who rushed out beside Yang Chen made their moves more fiercely than they thought. Almost at the speed of light, the outcome was already clear. First was Zhanxian, and then Gao Yu. After the opponent only shot a sword, they used a kind mysterious body and sword technique to behead them, showing no mercy. It's so firm and ruthless that people couldn't help but be shocked. After 13 years of training with those ferocious sea beasts at sea, the current fighting style of the four girls has almost become instinctive. They would never show mercy when they attacked. If Gongsun Ling hadn't shouted in time and wanted an extra wielding stage master for the mountain river geographical map, the last guy would definitely have been beheaded by Sun Qingxu. From this battle, it could basically be seen how the three females were practicing. Zhanxian had no distractions, her combat effectiveness was the most powerful, and she was also the first to kill her opponent. After Gao Yu succeeded in refining the dragon horn flying sword, together with cultivating the water and fire attributes, she was almost at the same time as Zhanxian, the difference was only a fine line. Only Sun Qingxu didn't seem to be fierce enough. Although she had severely injured her opponent, she still hadn't finished him off. Of course, this has something to do with her cultivation base, and also with the opponent's strength. After several encounters, the three powerful servants that the young master had relied on became two corpses and one missing. The party that lost were the three late wielding stage masters, and the three women who won were only in the early wielding stage. This result shocked everyone who saw this scene. The young master was already a little panicked. He couldn't think of the fact that the few women he wanted to take as his cauldrons were so powerful. If he knew this a long time ago, he wouldn't have provoked them. Now his three most powerful subordinates have been killed, where were the remaining two opponents of the three women? The four women following him were just the playthings of the young master, and they didn't have enough strength for participating in the battle. Only the young master himself had some fighting power, but there were also Zhanxian and Yang Chen who hadn't done anything since the beginning. At this time, even a fool could see that Zhanxian was definitely a master of the same rank as Zhanxian, Gao Yu and Sun Qingxu. Which force were the four female masters from that they were so terrifying? Gao Yu, Zhanxian, Sun Qingxu. The three women did not take back their flying swords. They slowly walked towards the young master from three directions. Zhanxian was not to be left behind and stepped forward. Although the faces of the four women cannot be seen under the veil, the killing intent in the eyes of the four women was as obvious as a torch in the dark night. I think we might have a little misunderstanding. When the young master opened his mouth this time, it no longer had the arrogance that was there before. Instead, there were a lot of pleadings in his voice. The young master of the Sleepy Dragon Valley has offended you a lot before, and I hope seniors will stay their hands and let this junior off. In order to survive, the young master of the Sleepy Dragon Valley didn't even need his face. He was a master of the late Yuning stage, directly addressing the early Yuning stage ancestors as seniors, which was unheard of in the mortal world. Regarding age and cultivation base, he should be the predecessor of Yang Chen and others, but now he was saying the other way around. No one laughed out of what they heard from him. Facing the horror between life and death, it was understandable what kind of gaffes he made. Regardless, no one felt sympathy for the young master and his party. What did they come to the demon continent for? In order to carry out killing and gain experience, but the young master brought his concubines and servants. It was clear that the demon continent was regarded as a good place to play by him. Relying on a little power in his family, he would not take a cruel place like the demon continent seriously. He deserves it. This kind of person would die sooner or later here. It's just the difference between dying early and dying late. He died early and was overborn, but now Yang Chen and the others have ended up losing it, and the province would add obstacles to others in the future. A similar battle was happening all around. Several waves of people have fought separately since they first entered the door, but with such a quick victory and defeat, Yang Chen and the others were still the first wave. This is the demon continent. Yang Chen had been standing there without doing anything, but at the moment he spoke. In this sentence, the death penalty for these people has already been announced. To gain experience in the demon continent, you must be prepared to die at any time. Now that you are here, people who are not prepared have to die. The difference was that Yang Chen and the others would do it, or the demonic fiends would do it, or other people would do it. That's it, the result was not any different. The four women showed the results of training on the sea very well, and they swarmed up to face their already fearful opponents without mercy. Even if the other party already knows that the four women were so powerful, they wouldn't die without a fight, but they persisted a few more times than the previous three. The young master and the two servants fell under the swords of the girls without any accident, leaving the four concubines with pale shivering faces. Seeing the four women looking at them with cold eyes, the four women knelt on the ground in fright and kept begging. Zhanxian stepped forward, shook her hand, and received the four women who dared not resist in the mountain river geographical map. Although these four women have poor combat effectiveness, it could even be said that they have no combat effectiveness at all, but at any rate they were also having Yuning stage cultivation bases. As long as they breathe out refining Kai in the mountain river geographical map, they could increase the power of the mountain river geographical map. Although this method was cruel, it was better than killing them. It's better to live than to die, isn't it? 10 people, 10 Yuning stage masters, in a blink of an eye, only 5 corpses with no heads were left, and the other 5 disappeared without a trace. Watching this scene, everyone around was a little bit scared. Among the Yang Chen's group, no one dared to despise them because of their early Yuning stage cultivation bases. On the contrary, many people had cast horrified glances at them. They believed that after this episode, at least these people who just came in, no one would dare to make moves against them lightly. Li Chang, who had been staying here to watch the excitement, stepped forward at the moment, gave Yang Chen a thumbs up, smiled and praised Brother Yang as really amazing. The people were killed by the 4 women, but Li Chang gave Yang Chen a thumbs up, which made people feel uncomfortable. But Yang Chen didn't underestimate Li Chang in the slightest. In his eyes, no matter how powerful those fierce guys were, he could always see through the strength of each of them. But Li Chang was a bit unpredictable. On the surface, he was only having the strength of the early Yuning stage, but when Yang Chen faced Li Chang, he always had a frightened feeling, as if he was instinctively afraid of something. This was a feeling that Yang Chen had never felt before. Even when facing the profound Heaven Sect master in his previous life, Yang Chen had never been so frightened when the other party waved his hand to wipe out Yang Chen. But Yang Chen couldn't find anything unusual about Li Chang. This kind of unknown fear was the most scary thing. Fortunately, Li Chang didn't seem to be malicious towards Yang Chen. He just greeted him and left quickly by himself. Yang Chen couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief, his eyes turned to the world behind the door and for the first time began to seriously look at this legendary demon continent. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more. Chapter 500. You dare deceive me. All the scenes do not seem to be much different from the Central Plains Deus Ex. If there was a difference, it was a lush forest, almost all over their field of vision. Using his spiritual awareness to explore the depths of the forest, Yang Chen quickly grasped the terrain for thousands of miles. In the forest, there were water networks and rivers. The weather here was obviously much hotter than the Central Plains, and the air was much humid. Such an environment was suitable for many monsters to survive. In this vast expanse of huge jungle, he doesn't know how many fierce monsters hide in it. Almost thousands of miles away, Yang Chen's spiritual awareness detected an unusual aura, which was probably the demonic aura among those populations. However, within this range, the devilish Kai was very weak, it seemed that it was only slightly seeping out from the center, and it was not enough. It was estimated that he would need to go deeper if he wanted to kill the monster. Not far from the door, there was a long table with hundreds of jade slips on the table. Some people have seen that in the past they picked up jade slips to read, but everyone picked up a few and put them down, and then took a piece of it and put it away. Yang Chen took care of the few people's Qianqin bags, and after the good things were divided among the girls, he came to the table and picked up a piece of jade slip to explore with his spiritual awareness. The women were no exception, they took a piece of it to check. At first glance, Yang Chen discovered that the information recorded in this jade slip turned out to be a map of the demon continent. Some peripheral gathering points were recorded above, and some dangerous areas were indicated, and the others were not recorded much. It seems that the people here were really well prepared, they even thought about these details. Yang Chen was no exception at the moment. He took a piece and put it away, and he experienced it in the demon continent. With such a map, it could save a lot of time and effort. Presumably the contents of the other jade slips were the same. Yang Chen didn't look at it anymore. After watching the women each receive one piece, they flew towards the closest gathering point. When you first come to the gathering point, you can also understand some of the situation here. Of course, even the nearest gathering point. You have to pass through a dangerous area on the map and you may inevitably fight on the road. Husband, we have something to discuss with you. When Yang Chen controlled the shuttle's flight, Gao Yu suddenly spoke with Yang Chen in a rare tone. What's the matter? Let's talk. Yang Chen said casually. He also sat at the table in the flying shuttle, but the four women sat opposite him. Husband, we want to gain experience alone. After the four women looked at each other, Zhanxian suddenly spoke to Yang Chen. The expressions of the four girls were very serious. Gain experience alone? Yang Chen was slightly surprised. In the demon continent, where an accident killed people, if the 5 people worked together, their chance of survival would be even greater. The 4 women wanted to practice alone. Why won't it surprise Yang Chen? Along the way, we felt that every time we encountered something, you had to arrange it first. This seems to lose the meaning of gaining experience. This time it was Gao Yu who spoke again, in a negotiating tone. If we are so dependent on our husband in the future, maybe we will become the same as the young master's concubines. The women that Gao Yu mentioned had no effect in their entire lives, except for sticking to the young master's side, wooing the young master, and serving as a furnace for the young master. Their practice was just to increase the bargaining chip to please the young master. Yang Chen had never regarded his wife as such a woman, not to mention other things, just the previous life Cold Plum Fairy and Dancing Snow Fairy were so heroic. How could it be possible that such a majestic beauty has been subjugated to become someone's concubine furnace? But what Gao Yu said seemed to have some truth. Because Yang Chen had the advantage of rebirth, he always tried to tell them how to do it, but he also forgot that the women around him, even without him, should live very wonderfully. After too much time, Yang Chen suddenly wanted to understand where his mistake was. He valued them so much that he restrained their original growth. Practicing within the framework given by others was a taboo in cultivation, and the women were obviously aware of this problem. Now the 4 women were very serious about this matter to Yang Chen. After Yang Chen thought for a while, he finally nodded. The 4 women's experience at sea has also been fruitful, as he could see from the battle against the young master who was from the Sleeping Dragon Valley. Pay attention to safety. Yang Chen took out almost all the healing pills on his body and distributed them to the 4 women. Since he wanted the 4 women to break through in the demon continent by themselves, he had refined a large number of them on the sea, and when necessary, these pills were life-saving items. The 4 women of course accepted their own husband's confidence in them, and they all accepted the pill with ease. The naughty son Kingsu even kissed Yang Chen gently on the cheek. Thank you, husband. Every other year, take a month to meet at this gathering point. Since they have to cultivate separately, there must always be a day when everyone would reunite or to exchange experience with each other. Yang Chen could also make some new refinements and hand the medicine to them. The women nodded and agreed. Then Yang Chen had some instructions for them and then watched the 4 women leave in 4 directions one by one. Even Yang Chen didn't know why he was such a dick, maybe it was really the reason for his concern. After sending away the 4 wives, Yang Chen suddenly felt a little distracted and a little more irritable. The departure of the 4 girls was also the path they should take in practice, rather than being tied by him. This was the right thing, but Yang Chen couldn't make himself happy. Yang Chen was depressed, so naturally he was looking for someone to vent. Isn't it easy to find some opponents to kill in the demon continent? The high-speed shuttle plunged into the dangerous area marked on the map. This was actually only the outermost area contaminated with Devil Kai, and there were only some monsters that are equivalent to the early Jidan stage. Under Yang Chen's venting, slashing and killing, in just 1 hour, hundreds of Jidan stage monsters turned into bloody fragments. However, this simple killing did not let Yang Chen completely vent his boredom, so Yang Chen thought about the hapless Li Lihing again. Who made Li Lihing leave a mark of spiritual awareness on his body? Who made Li Lihing cultivate the so-called spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method? And who made Li Lihing the only guy with Yang Chen's spiritual awareness that could communicate with outside the demon continent? Then he could only be unlucky. The demon continent shields the spiritual awareness, this was the merit of the formation. Even if Yang Chen's powerful spiritual awareness had reached the 2nd stage of the human immortal realm, he couldn't break through this terrifying formation. However, there was one exception, and that was Li Lihing. He cultivated the spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method. The power of this technique lies in the fact that the spiritual awareness of the cultivator could pass through the barriers of the mortal world and the immortal realm. The small formations that were also in the mortal world couldn't shield his spiritual awareness. Even if Li Lihing's cultivation base was still very low, it was still impossible. As a result, the poor young sect master Li Lihing of the Greatest Heaven sect became a victim of Yang Chen's anger at this time. When he was cultivating, he was surrounded by the sudden anger of the predecessor Liu Fengzi. He didn't even know what was going on. You damn liar. Carrying an unpredictable majesty, Li Lihing was almost at a loss for Liu Fengzi's anger. Senior Liu Fengzi even directly denounced him as a damn liar. The pressure of a mountain directly pressed Li Lihing's consciousness firmly in a certain corner. Feeling the monstrous anger of Liu Fengzi, Li Lihing could not even say a word. Li Lihing has never discovered that when he faces a person's anger, it could be so terrible. Even when he faced Sectmaster Li's anger, he was just scared on his face, and there was a slight rebellion in his heart, but in the face of the anger of Senior Liu Fengzi, he did not even dare to continue breathing. His heart beat. Will it disturb Senior Liu Fengzi? Could he stop it? Finally, after the torrential flames of anger of the predecessor Liu Fengzi, his mood was slightly calmed down. The huge pressure that had always been on his head was also slightly reduced, giving Li Lihing finally a chance to express a little bit of his thoughts. But it's just a little bit, nothing else. Senior, is there any misunderstanding? Li Lihing looked at the situation and asked cautiously. He really didn't know where he had offended Senior Liu Fengzi and how he would provoke such monstrous anger. A young sect master of the dignified Greatest Heaven sect who has recently been able to call forth wind in the sect. If he wanted it to rain it would rain, where has he been under such terrible pressure? Now Li Lihing only wanted to prove his innocence and not let the predecessor Liu Fengzi bear hatred towards him. It must be known, everything he has now was bestowed by Senior Liu Fengzi. Once he doesn't have the support of Senior Liu Fengzi, he could only be the poor worm who could be bullied by any expert in the medicinal hall. He was said to be cautious, but in fact, this was in his conscious world, which could be described with sincerity and fear. The old man asked a few masters who soared up from the sect. In the past hundreds of years, there has never been a human sect disciple who has cultivated the spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method. The anger of the predecessor Liu Fengzi really had a reason. Of course, it was only Yang Chen's reason for venting out, otherwise, where was there an excuse to go crazy? However, those guys who ascended not knowing about the spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method was normal. This was originally a secret held in the hearts of a few core elders, and not everyone could know it. In short, this reason was reasonable, no matter how it was considered, as no core elders have soared recently. The last group of elders who knew about the spatial spiritual awareness cultivation method who soared to the spiritual realm obviously didn't know that there was a little guy named Li Lihing who was cultivating this cultivation method, which was almost impossible to succeed in. Say. Where did you come from? You dare to pretend to be my Greatest Heaven sect disciple. After talking about the reasons just now, the anger of Liu Fengzi emerged again, and the monstrous power once again suppressed Li Lihing, and he couldn't speak anymore. It seemed that Liu Fengzi's anger was a bit too great and the terrifying pressure directly caused poor Li Lihing to lose consciousness. That's not to say, even the sect master and several core elders who surrounded Li Lihing every time felt the terrifying pressure through Li Lihing's aura. Released together with the pressure, there was also an undisguised killing intent, so that all the people present were like the servants who have fallen into an ice cave and weren't having any cultivation bases. They either fainted or rattled their fearful teeth, and none of them could maintain a standing form. After a long time, the horrible aura slowly dissipated, the sect master and several core elders were relieved and then immediately began to treat Li Lihing, who had fainted due to the pressure. When Li Lihing woke up, the anxious elders waited to understand what had happened. It turns out that it was because of this, everyone has a feeling of dumbfounding. But thinking about it, they know how much this senior Liu Fengzi has helped them, he has given them pointers for dozens of years. On average, once a year, there were dozens of times. After so many selfless instructions, if he was deceived, they would be furious if they were replaced by him. What should I do? Senior Liu Fengzi doesn't believe that I am a disciple of the greatest heaven sect, what should I do? Li Lihing was the person who valued this issue the most. Everything he currently enjoys, status, power, even wealth, women, comes from Liu Fengzi's support. Once Liu Fengzi no longer believed in him, he would fall into hell completely. Sect Master Li looked at Li Lihing's anxious look and exchanged glances with several core elders and then said gently, "It's okay. It's okay." They naturally withdrew from everyone and then placed dozens of restrictions, and then Sect Master Li smiled and comforted Li Lihing and said, "Don't be afraid, the sky has not fallen down." But Senior Liu Fengzi doesn't believe in his disciples anymore. How could Li Lihing not be depressed? For Sect Master Li, it could be said that he has received the guidance he dreamed of, and several elders also did the same. Naturally, they could stand giving up their relationship with Liu Fengzi, but for Li Lihing, it was far from enough. My greatest heaven sect have a set of codes that identify each other. Sect Master Li felt that some things should be known to Li Lihing, and now the matter involves Li Lihing himself, so he was not afraid of leaking it. It is for the spiritual world seniors to recognize the disciples of my sect, arranged in other sects. The greatest heaven sect had many chess pieces placed in other sects. Some of these chess pieces may be sacrificed, but some would soar. Once they go to the spiritual world, their identities cannot be recognized by the profound heaven sect, which was a big problem. Therefore, the greatest heaven sect naturally made a complete identification scheme. Next time you contact Senior Liu Fengzi, tell him this. Sect Master Li said to Li Lihing, confidently, these are the secret signs that have been left for tens of thousands of years, and they also prove that you are a core disciple of the greatest heaven sect. As long as you give these secret codes, Senior Liu Fengzi will definitely trust you. If you're enjoying the content, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to Fantasy World for more.